Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you'll enjoy this live legal education content, and today will be the day I earn that subscription. For today's story, we are talking about the female Jussie Smollett. Yes, there is a female Juicy who has not been getting the attention she so richly deserves. Well, she has to some degree, but I don't think she's quite reached that level of national prominence. Although it would be a little bit hard to reach the levels of Juicy. Juicy is on a whole nother tier. But nevertheless, we can do our small part here on Uncivil Law to take this story and elevate it. To take this woman with her hoax and boost her up into Juicy territory where she so richly deserves to be from her own efforts and her own activities. So yeah, long story short, she faked a kidnapping. She blamed a whole bunch of people. She blamed random people and a whole bunch of things and lied to the police and did a little bit of the mail fraud. You should probably try to avoid the mail fraud. That would be good. But we're going to discuss this in some depth because we need to. So let's just go ahead and get started. And we are reading from the initial charging documents, or initial arresting documents, I suppose, of all this. So what do we think she did and why do we think she did it? Okay, let's see. In November of 2016, Papini went missing for several weeks and law enforcement conducted a nationwide search for her. When she returned, she told federal law enforcement officers and others she had been abducted by two Hispanic women. So the two black guys of every hoax ever, it's always the two black guys. But now they're no longer black guys. Now they're Hispanic women. We're branching out, man. We're branching out. It was the two Hispanic women who did it. Except, no. Papini also provided details of the alleged Hispanic women to an FBI sketch artist, use your imagination, I guess, and sent text messages to the FBI about instruments the Hispanic women used to inflict injuries on Papini. However, this was a false narrative Papini fabricated. In truth, Papini was staying with a former boyfriend and harmed herself to support her false statements. Justice for Juicy. Ex-boyfriend told the investigators that Papini stayed with him at his house during the date of her disappearance, and it was Papini that reached out to him and asked him to come to pick her up in Reading. DNA evidence recovered from Papini's clothing she was wearing when she returned matched the ex-boyfriend's DNA. I wonder what kind of ex-boyfriend DNA in particular. One can only speculate. Phone records show that Papini and ex-boyfriend were talking to one another as early as December 2015. The ex-boyfriend told investigators that he and Papini used prepaid phones to talk to one another. This was corroborated through evidence of two prepaid cellular phones that were tied to the ex-boyfriend and would communicate with each other, one from Papini's location and the other from the ex-boyfriend's location. Yeah, the burner phone thing is good, except, when you just tell the FBI about the burner phones and then, they can trace them. Historical cell site analysis and toll records of the prepaid phones indicated the ex-boyfriend traveling to Reading on or about the date of Papini's disappearance. Papini and ex-boyfriend exchanged text messages the morning Papini disappeared. They met together around the location where Papini was last seen, and Papini and ex-boyfriend traveled to Southern California together. Yeah. The ex-boyfriend's cousin told investigators that cousin saw Papini in ex-boyfriend's apartment on two different occasions, both times unrestrained. So not so much with the kidnapping, as opposed to, she just went on a bit of a holiday. Ex-boyfriend also told investigators that approximately 3 weeks later, he had a friend rent a car for him, and that ex-boyfriend drove Papini back to Northern California, which was corroborated by car rental records. I guess Hertz is there for you, even when you're faking kidnappings. That's nice to know. When Papini was interviewed by a federal agent in August of 2020, she was warned it was a crime to lie to federal agents. If they're telling you this, they think you're lying, right? The FBI will warn you about this, and when they warn you, it's a clue they think you're lying. And confronted with evidence, she was not abducted, but instead arranged to have ex-boyfriend pick her up and take her home. Papini did not retract her kidnapping story and instead continued to make false statements about her purported abductors and denied ex-boyfriend's involvement. In addition, Papini caused the California Victims Compensation Board to pay over $30,000 in fraudulent victim assistance money based on the false kidnapping story, including reimbursements for therapy sessions, blind, and ambulance services. At least one of these reimbursements was via the mail. So that brings us to the mail fraud, right? That brings us to the mail fraud. Yeah. You know, the state of California probably has concerns too, I'm sure. But one of those reimbursements was by the mail. And that'll do it. Okay. All right, so nationwide search conducted when Papini went missing. At approximately 5:50 p.m. on November the 2nd of 2016, Papini's then husband. So this basically is just a really bad romantic tryst, or I don't even know what this is. This is a romantic tryst. So I guess the most plausible story is that wife was cheating on husband with ex-boyfriend, and then didn't want to admit to it, so came up with the kidnapping story, I guess. I don't know, man. Let's see. Papini's then husband reported wife Papini was missing from their home. Papini was a 34-year-old mother of their two young children who had lived in the Mountain Gate area of Shasta County near Redding, California, in Eastern District of California. Husband told the sheriff's office deputies that when he arrived home from work, he was unable to locate Papini or their two children. Husband learned the children had not been picked up from daycare as was customary. Husband checked the Find My iPhone app and was able to locate Papini's phone near Sunset Drive in Redding, California. He went to the location and retrieved the phone. Papini was last seen running on Sunset Drive, and was believed to have gone missing between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. The sheriff's office requested the FBI's assistance in investigating it. So her phone apparently was found by the roadside as part of this kidnapping plot thing. Okay. Oh yeah, Bossy says you never heard of the USPS officers until this year and they're no joke. Oh yeah. No. The federal mail inspectors, man. The mail inspectors are got to be one of my favorite federal agencies or my favorite police departments ever. Because their jurisdiction is the mail, and the mail goes everywhere. So the postal inspectors, man. Yeah, they might be my favorite law enforcement agency because their jurisdiction is basically everything. Don't mess with the postal inspectors. Good tip. Extensive searches were conducted for Papini all over the county, as well as several states. As the investigation gained worldwide attention, hundreds of tips were submitted to the sheriff's office and the FBI. Numerous items of potential evidence were collected from the various searches, with none of them leading to Papini's whereabouts. Immediately upon Papini's disappearance, law enforcement scoured the area where Papini appeared to have gone missing. Husband showed the sheriff's detectives where he found Papini's cell phone and earbuds with blonde hairs entangled in them in the south corner of Sunrise Drive and Old Oregon Trail, about 2 feet off the road. This might suggest some sort of planning by Papini to try to create this false narrative because she wanted to cheat on her husband with her ex-boyfriend. Okay. Husband thought the cell phone had been placed, which he described as weird. The detectives also did a walkthrough of the residence and found nothing out of the ordinary. Her purse and jewelry were accounted for, but husband did not know if any unusual banking activity was occurring in the bank accounts. In follow-up interviews, husband stated that he and Papini did not have marital issues. Apparently you do. I mean, it seems like you do. But occasionally fought as any married couple would. Well, apparently your wife has more issues than she might have let on. The last fight they had was in October 26 over a messy room. Jordan Peterson does teach us to clean up our rooms, so. Husband stated Papini could get loud when she was angry and knew how to push husband's buttons. I bet. An analysis of Papini's cell phone found 2 numbers stored under a woman's name that actually belonged to men. Man 1 and Man 2. Uh-oh. Some phone numbers stored under women's names, but they're really men's names. Uh-oh. Yeah, it looks like there might be more marital issues than you might have let on. There could be some broader problems than might have been indicated. In a text conversation between Man 1 and Papini on November the 1st, 2016, the two discussed meeting in Reading. Additionally, travel records show that Man 1 traveled to San Francisco on October the 28th, 2016, and flew back to Michigan on November the 2nd, the day of Papini's disappearance. Well, that's kind of suspicious. Investigators traveled out of state to interview Man 1 and look for Papini. Papini was not located, and Man 1 told investigators that Papini and Man 1 met approximately 2011 when Papini went out of town for work. The two spent the weekend together and continued to exchange flirtatious text messages throughout the years. I'm willing to bet they did a little bit more than just merely exchanging flirtatious text messages, just taking a guess. Although they had planned to meet during Man 1's trip to California, he returned home without seeing her. Investigators also interviewed Man 2, who was described meeting Papini around 2000-2001 at a Friday Night Live youth program and dating her for several years. Man 2 described Papini as an attention-hungry person who told stories to try to get people's attention. Man 2 stated that Papini fabricated stories of being the victim of abuse from her family, father, and then Man 2 after the couple broke up. Something, something, don't stick your thing in something, something. On November the 16th, 2016, investigators telephonically contacted Person 1, the director of Friday Night Lives, who knew Papini from the program. Person 1 stated that Papini was the only student Person 1 feared having in the program because Papini was good at creating different realities for people, so they would see what they wanted them to see, which got her really good attention. Uh-oh. So it seems like Papini is good at creating false stories for lots of people. She's good at the manipulation. She's good at the manipulation stuff. Well, maybe she can manipulate a jury. That's where the fun part comes in, right? That's where the fun part comes in, where she tries to do her act before the jury. High stakes. 1999 from Startup Lab. I'd like to nominate these people for the Darwin Award. How's the tripod holding up? The tripod is excellent. Thank you for asking. Investigators learned Papini had a previous marriage to Man 3. Husband told investigators that Papini married Man 3, who was in the military, to get medical insurance because of a heart murmur issue. Papini's mother told investigators Papini traveled all over the world with her first husband. Investigators located Man 3 and interviewed him on November the 14th of 2016. Man 3 confirmed that he and Papini were married in 2006 prior to deployment overseas and stated it was because Papini needed health insurance due to complications related to regular egg donations. Is that the kind of thing that would be covered by insurance? even the complications relating to that? I mean, I don't. Okay. All right. Why is she doing regular egg? Okay. Man 3 stated that he and Papini never lived together and did not travel together except for once, when Papini visited Man 3 in Japan. When Man 3 returned from deployment, Papini told him she had found someone else and wanted a divorce, to which Man 3 agreed. Says a lot right there. Papini told Man 3 that her family abused her while growing up. After the divorce, Man 3 heard from mutual friends that Papini had a history of lying. You don't say. You don't say. Sledge and Wedge retro raggy. I agree. Investigators also interviewed several of Papini's friends. These friends described Papini as being crazy and wild as a youth. No, you don't say. You don't say that she had some craziness and wildness in her youth. I'm shocked. This is my shocked face. The friends recount that Papini used to run away, and one described an incident in which Papini ran away from home at age 16 to Southern California and stayed with friends. Multiple friends also stated Papini would make up lies, particularly about being the victim of abuse, especially as a youth. Right about this time is the time I get sad. This trial is in federal court, because this sounds like the greatest trial ever. This sounds like a trial I want to cover, gavel to gavel. That's not happening because it's federal court, and that makes me sad inside. Because this just sounds the greatest thing ever, man. This just sounds awesome. Papini was discovered on Thanksgiving morning of 2016. On November the 24th, 2016, at approximately 4:30 a.m., the California Highway Patrol responded to several 911 calls made regarding a woman, subsequently identified as Papini, standing or running in the middle of Interstate 5. Wow. So we're going like Walter White fugue state here or something? Interstate 5 is busy. It's, yeah. And she's running in the middle of Interstate 5. Okay. The calls included from a truck driver who had stopped for Papini and then called 911 to report the incident. I would think a California Highway Patrol officer found Papini with the truck driver alongside I-5 near Woodland, California in Yolo County. Yolo! Approximately 146 miles south of the location of her disappearance. Papini, wow, we are really going full Jussie Smollett, aren't we? Papini had a chain around her waist that one arm was bound to, with additional bindings around her other wrist and each ankle. I swear, if she paid these people by check, I'm going to lose it. Papini was transported to Woodland Hospital, where she underwent a physical examination, one would imagine. She appeared to have lost considerable amount of weight, and her long blonde hair had been cut much shorter. She had been branded on her right shoulder, although the exact content of the brand was indistinguishable. Papini's nose was swollen. She had bruises on her face, rashes on her left arm and left upper thigh, as well as other parts of her body, ligature marks around her wrists and ankles, bruises on her left forearm, and bruising on her pelvis and the front of both legs. Toxicology reports did not show any significant trace of narcotics in the system at the time of her return, and a physical examination did not show sign of physical assault. Wow. Okay, so yeah, we're just going full juicy over here. So rather than the noose, does a Subway sandwich get involved in this at some point? Or do you think she's more of a Chick-fil-A girl? Or maybe she had a mimosa? She went out for mimosas? She went out to the mimosa place in the middle of Interstate 5? I don't know. Okay. While at Woodland Hospital, Papini's clothing was collected for DNA sampling, including her sweatshirt, sweatpants, sock, and underwear. Papini told investigators this was her original underwear from the day of the disappearance. Ew. The clothing was submitted to the California Department of Justice, Bureau of Forensic Sciences, Redding Laboratory for processing. Mixtures of DNA consistent with Papini and one male contributor, who was not her husband, was recovered from multiple cuttings taken from Papini's underwear and one cutting taken from her sweatpants. The male contributor's DNA to Papini's clothing was uploaded to CODIS, which is routinely searched against profiles in 2020. Wow. In 2020, a familial match to a male contributor of DNA was identified, which eventually led to ex-boyfriend, as described in greater detail below. Okay. I mean, yeah. Sure, why not? On November the 24th of 2016, the day Papini was located, the sheriff's office detectives attempted to interview Papini at the Woodland Hospital, and during an ambulance ride from Woodland Hospital to another facility. Papini refused to speak to the detectives, so they gave the audio recorder to husband, who asked Papini questions. The detectives remained in the room and rode along with the ambulance. However, it was husband who conducted the interview. The interview was recorded and transcribed in its entirety. Papini provided the following information in the interview. Okay. Papini stated that her abductors eluded law enforcement being involved in her kidnapping, and therefore, alluded to law enforcement being involved. Okay, so she thinks the cops are the ones that conducted the fake kidnapping. Okay. And therefore she didn't want to speak to law enforcement. Papini explained that her abductors read articles to her that stated that Papini had left voluntarily, as opposed to being kidnapped, which Papini denied. Further along the interview, Papini again stated that her abductors told her that law enforcement was involved in her kidnapping. Papini stated, "She was laughing at me. No one believes you. Everyone thinks you ran away. No one believes you. Guess what? The buyer's a cop. They're never going to find you." Later in the same interview, Papini expressed concerns because officers were writing everything down that she was stating, and she repeatedly stated that she didn't want to talk to law enforcement. Wow. Papini said 2 Hispanic women abducted her, although one of the women brought her back. There was an older one and a younger one. They were Hispanic. They spoke Spanish a lot. The Hispanic women always wore masks and short black leather gloves. Papini described the older woman as really mean and the younger woman as seeming reluctantly involved. Papini described the younger abductor as small with curly, long brown hair who spoke more Spanish. Papini described the older woman as taller and fat, had straight dark or black hair with gray in it and a raspy voice. The older abductor hit the younger abductor. Although Papini never saw this happen, she could hear it. Papini stated her abductors always wore masks, sometimes different color bandanas, and sometimes lace masks. Papini had a hard time remembering many details about her abductors, including descriptions of the clothing they were wearing, on words on the hat that one of them was wearing. Papini described the events that occurred at the time she was abducted. A dark-colored SUV containing the 2 Hispanic women first drove past her, then backed up when saw her jogging on the road. One of the women had on sunglasses. Papini believes she said, "Can you help me?" Papini walked towards the woman, who opened the door of the vehicle to show Papini she had a gun, which Papini described as a little revolver. The woman told Papini to put her phone down. Papini recalled the woman saying something to the effect of, "We don't want to kill you." Papini put her phone down and got into the SUV. Papini described the SUV as having tinted windows and either no seats or one seat on the far side and a hump that went up. Papini said that she not see where the woman took her because they wrapped something around her face. Husband asked Papini if the kidnappers put a bag over her head right away. Papini responded, "I don't remember. I don't know. I think she may have tased me. The next thing I remember, all my clothes were gone." Okay. Although Papini tried to stay awake during the drive, she fell asleep. I mean, I would think, having just been kidnapped at gunpoint, the adrenaline might be pumping through your blood a little bit, and it might be a little difficult to fall asleep, but, what do I know? Husband then tried to get Papini to describe the road trip after she was abducted. He asked her how long the trip took, whether she felt a change in altitude, whether she could describe the vehicle she was in. Papini responded, "I don't remember a lot. I'm missing time. The car smelled really bad, like sewage. She struck me with something. I kept falling asleep." After just being abducted at gunpoint, she kept falling asleep. You know, that strikes me as a little suspicious. You know, just kept falling asleep, having just been abducted at the gunpoint. Okay. Papini said the older abductor liked to hit her, and the younger one would yell at her in Spanish. Papini described how she tried to manipulate her abductors to give her more information about why she was abducted, including offering to cook and clean for them. However, anytime the younger abductor spoke to Papini, the old woman hit her. Papini said the woman put her in a closet with a bucket with kitty litter in it for use as a toilet. I mean, I guess. She described the closet as containing shelves and a metal pole to which the woman hooked a cable and chained to, with the other end of the chain hooked around her waist. There was enough length on it for Papini to reach the bed, but she could not reach the door. The chain was unmovable because it was bolted into the ceiling. Papini described how, when she did not listen to the women, they would lock her in the closet. Papini stated that there were boards on the windows of the room she was kept in. Papini provided additional descriptions of her captivity location and her abductors. They would play music loudly, the really annoying Mexican music. I feel for you. And they would watch TV. There was a fireplace. I could smell it. I could hear the sound, you know, when they moved the handle to open the fireplace. It made a creaky sound, and it was cold. It was always cold, and it seemed to rain almost every night. Husband asked Papini if she ever heard anything distinct that might lead investigators to her abductors, and she answered, "I heard birds. I never heard anything else. They put the stereo right outside my door and played it super loud." Papini described how her location was always cold, and her abductors would take away her blankets if she made too much noise. Papini told husband there was no sexual abuse while she was in captivity. The woman has a vivid imagination, that's for sure. Papini said her abductors fed her once a day, maybe rice or tortillas, and sometimes apples. However, if Papini behaved, her abductors gave her additional food. Papini stated that many times her abductors gave her cream of wheat to eat and described how everything tasted horrible and was crap or leftover crap. Papini was also given a bottle of water. To give her meals, her abductors opened the door, put it in there, and slammed the door. When Papini disappeared, she was wearing jogging clothes. When she returned, she was wearing gray sweatpants, a gray sweatshirt, and her original underwear. During the interview, Papini could not explain what happened to her original clothes. Papini said she fell asleep during the call ride after she was abducted and woke up in a room with different clothes and no recollection of how her clothes came to be changed. Papini stated, "I didn't have any clothes. All I had left was my underwear, which she let me wash when I took a shower." Papini also stated her abductors cut her hair and put an adult diaper on her. Okay. Papini also stated that she was branded after the first time she tried to escape. "I tried to get out the first time, and that's when they branded me." Papini described how her abductors brought a table in, hit her back, and tied her to the table. When they branded Papini, her skin made a sizzling popping sound, and it was very painful. Later in the same interview, Papini said her abductors told her that her buyer wanted Papini branded because that is what he liked. Okay. Papini never heard the buyer's name because the abductor spoke mostly Spanish, and Papini did not understand more than a few Spanish words. These include discussions about medicine, traffic cameras, a delivery date, and a gamble, as well as Spanish insults directed at Papini. When Papini would take a shower, she was guarded by the younger abductor holding a gun. The abductor said they weren't supposed to hurt Papini also mentioned getting paid. Papini could not remember much of the day she was returned. She heard the two women arguing in Spanish. Papini believed the younger abductor was saying that Papini needed medicine. Papini heard what she believed to be a gunshot and then said she could hear the younger one leave. Papini said the younger abductor was gone for a long time and Papini was left alone in the house. Papini said she screamed and screamed until she fell asleep. Papini explained, "I listened so carefully, but it was all Spanish. I heard the word gambling." Papini was asleep when the younger abductor came to get her to leave. It happened really fast. And then Papini was in the car. Papini believed a pillowcase was put over her head at some point, but she did not recall when or how. All right. Papini said she tried hard to stay awake during the drive, but it was hard for her to stay awake, and she kept falling asleep. Again, a little suspicious. Papini's abductor skipped the car, stopped the car, and told Papini to get out. Papini explained that when the younger abductor dropped her off, she clipped something off Papini's arm and allowed Papini to move her arm. Then the abductor sped off. Papini's abductor was also already far away by the time Papini was able to pull the pillowcase off her head. Papini said she ran to a church and banged on the door, but no one was there. Papini then ran to the freeway, where she tried to flag down motorists. Eventually, a truck stopped for her and assisted her until Highway Patrol arrived. On November 28th and 29th, the detectives interviewed Papini at her residence and the residence of her family member. These interviews were recorded and transcribed in their entirety. During these interviews, Papini described more details about her abductions. Papini refused to be alone with the detectives and insisted husband be present. Detectives explained to Papini that even though the questions to Papini might seem trivial or dumb, there was a reason detectives were asking the questions. Papini explained she understood because she'd watched a lot of crime shows on television. The detectives asked Papini to start from the beginning and describe events that led up to her abduction. Papini described the morning of her abduction as following her usual routine. She took the kids to daycare, cleaned up around the house, and began to wrap a Christmas present for her husband. At approximately 11 a.m., Papini sent a text message to husband, asking him to come home for lunch. Papini joked with the detectives that husband was embarrassed about the last text message Papini had sent him before he disappeared, which she started off with the lines of, "Honey, would you please come home to have sex with your life for lunch?" Okay. Since husband would not be able to come home for lunch, Papini decided to go for a run. She explained that recently she had breast augmentation procedures and just begun to heal enough to start jogging. Papini wanted to train for a local 5K and been using the cell phone app to help her train. Papini said she almost always listened to her wedding song, Michael Bubbles Everything, when she ran because it's a good pace keeper. Okay. Papini described the route she took and the people she saw along the route. As she approached the end of Sunset Drive, she saw a dark-colored SUV with a long black window drive past her and then back up after the occupants of the vehicle saw her. When the vehicle backed up, the women in the passenger seat called up to Papini and asked for help. Papini explained she had her phone in her right hand and earbuds on as she took out her left earbud to hear the woman. When Papini approached the vehicle, the woman opened the door, and Papini said she saw a small revolver in her hand. Papini immediately ducked down, set the phone and earbuds on the ground, and pulled out some of her hair to leave with the phone and earbuds. So she's saying she did it deliberately, pulled out her hair to, like, help the police or something, I guess. Papini said she believed the woman said something, we don't want to hurt you or we don't want to kill you. Yeah. Papini could not remember getting in the car. She remembered she had a pillowcase over her head, but no recollection of how the pillowcase came to be over her head. She said she woke up in the vehicle with a pillowcase over her head and smelled of laundry detergent. Papini said that she felt nauseous and cold during the drive. She was lying in the back of the vehicle on the floor. The road was windy, her wrists windy. The road was windy. Her wrists hurt, and her hips were achy from the way she was positioned. When detectives asked how long it took for Papini to get achy hips when she laid on her side, Papini estimated around 40 minutes based on the television show she last watched, which was a crime television show called Blacklist. When asked further questions by detectives regarding the trip, Papini could not describe the direction the vehicle went in after she got into it and could not recall any stops during the trip. Papini could not determine the length of the trip because she kept falling asleep. Okay. Her two abductors were women. She could hear them speaking, but they spoke in Spanish, which Papini did not understand. When the detectives asked if she recalled any music during the trip, Papini asked, yes, mariachi music. That's racist. That two Hispanic women listening to mariachi music, that's racist. Papini says she could not remember if she heard any commercials to suggest it was a radio playing the music or was some type of streaming music from an app. Papini did not remember getting out $50 from Kathy Carver. Thank you very much for your generous super chat, Kathy. Papini did not remember getting out of the vehicle. The first thing she remembered was waking up in her room. She had zip ties around her wrists and was no longer in the clothes she'd been jogging in. She was wearing sweatpants, a sweatshirt, and no socks. Detectives asked Papini if these sweats were the same sweats she had on when she was recovered. Papini said no, because they would change me. Detectives asked Papini how many times she thought they'd been changed. Papini said, yeah, I think maybe one more time the sweatshirt, the top, was changed more. When she first woke up in the room, Papini tried to break the zip ties off her wrists. Papini initially stated her wrists were bound with zip ties behind her back and she couldn't break them. When she couldn't break the zip ties, she chewed through them. How? They're behind your back. How did you chew through them? They're behind your back. When she couldn't break the zip ties, she chewed through them magically somehow and cut her lip in the process. Detectives asked Papini if her wrists were bound with one zip tie or two. Papini responded one. Papini explained she unsuccessfully tried to do one of those moves to chop her hands down to break the ties, but eventually got off by biting through them with cut through her lip. Okay. Papini said anytime she'd make noise, her captors would come running into her room. Detectives asked Papini if there was ever a time she made noise and her abductors would not come running in. Papini responded no, as pretty much almost every time. Papini stated later in the interview that the abductors often played loud music outside her room. When the detectives asked Papini if she ever felt as though she was the only person in the house, she responded no, and explained that she could feel movement in the house and the radio was often blaring loud music. Papini said that when the music wasn't playing, her abductors would hear her moving in the room and come rushing into the room to beat her. Detectives stated that Papini mentioned in a previous interview that she heard the television and asked if they picked up any commercials or anything that could help them identify the location. Papini said no because she kept falling asleep. Again with this narcolepsy, man. She just falls asleep, no problem, man. She loves to sleep, man. She kept falling asleep and the television was in Spanish. Papini said the sound of the radio was scary to me, but the TV felt like I was just kind of rest more. Papini never heard English on the radio or television. She later said the television wasn't on often, and if there had been English, she just might not have heard it because the television volume was low. This is definitely very entertaining. This is definitely extremely entertaining is what this is. Tell me more tales. Defendants asked Papini about the sound she heard when she was in captivity. Papini said she learned for listened for neighbors and cars, but she heard nothing. She then stated that she heard birds. Detectives asked Papini what kind of bird she heard, and she said, I knew I heard a flicker because I know what a flicker sounds like. Papini told detectives she heard the flicker from the window of the room in which she was held. Okay. After Papini was able to get the zip ties off her wrists, she tried to open the door of her room, but it was locked with a deadbolt. She stood on the bed to get to the window, which was covered with boards. Yeah. Papini stated that she yanked the fucker out of the wall super quick, referring to a board over the window, and broke her nail in the process. The noise she made when trying to get the boards off the window caused two abductors to rush in for Papini. They struck Papini with something, while Papini did not see the object used to hit her and thought it could have been a taser. The next thing Papini recalled was waking up in a lot of pain in her back of her head, and her neck was sore. She stated, "This is all I remember from the experience." In previous interviews in the hospital and during the ambulance ride, Papini stated that she was branded as punishment for her first escape attempt when she pulled the board off the window. In those same interviews, Papini also stated her abductors told her the buyer wanted her branded. Well, I'm not sure which it is, whether the buyer wants it or they're punishing you. Maybe it's mixed motives. In the same interviews, Papini also stated her abductors told her the buyer wanted her to be branded. Detectives tried to get clarification from Papini and said it was their understanding that it was after the first escape attempt Papini was branded. Papini explained that no, the burn had occurred during a later punishment. She stated the abductors would hurt her when Papini would look up at her, and anytime Papini wasn't on all fours with heads down. Detectives asked Papini how she came to understand that she had to drop down the floor whenever abductors came in the room. And Papini explained that the abductors often told her, "Don't look at me," although they never said to get on all fours. Detectives continue to ask Papini to explain when and how she was branded, and why she said it was a punishment for her first escape. Papini explained the branding was not punishment for trying to escape through the window, but for making too much noise. Okay. Papini said the branding was done all in one extended time period, and was the older abductor who did the actual branding. The younger abductor was to the right and behind Papini, and Papini believed it was the younger abductor who held the tools they used to brand her with. Papini could not see the tools their abductors used because they were behind her, but she described the clicking sound similar to a tinkling of a metal pan. Like if you were watching the show where they were removing a bullet from someone and dropped it into the pan. Okay. Papini had a hard time remembering details because she was in too much pain, both from the branding and also because the weight of her body on her breast implants. Okay. Detectives asked Papini if she was held down while she was branded. Papini responded, "I wasn't necessarily held down. It was my arm, like I couldn't pull up." Papini did not know what her abductors used for a heat source. Papini often offered up the possibility it could have been from a craft tool of some sort that was used to brand her, but she never saw it. Papini postulated the tool was smaller than a fire poker, more like the size of a screwdriver, as her abductor was close to her. I mean, we have to give her points for a much more rich tapestry than we got from Jussie Smollett. Juicy didn't give us anything like this. I mean, Juicy didn't give us this rich tapestry with players and branding and chains and ropes and showers and revolvers and vans and mariachi music and all kinds of things, man. This is a rich tableau, and I feel like she earned some style points. Anne B. Feinstein is not so sure about that because she says it's hurting my writer brain. I could write up a better plot than this in minutes. Well, and next time a woman fakes her kidnapping, I'll have her call you for some writing assistance on this. Papini explained that after she tried to escape by ripping the board off the window, her abductors put a chain around her waist, and tethered her to a cable attached to a pole in the closet. She could not reach the bed, but she could reach the bed, but not the door or window. Papini tried to get the chain that was around her waist down over her hips, but abductors caught her trying to do this and tightened the chain. It was the cable that was attached to the pole in the closet that made noise when she moved. Papini stated, "Fucking pole is the only reason I was there." Papini tried to rip the pole out of the closet, which caused her hands to bleed and her fingernails to break when she tried to get the screws out. Papini said she could not remember if the pole was in the closet before her escape attempt. Detectives asked Papini what she ate while she was in captivity. Papini answers included the following: cream of wheat but dry and barely mixed. Once she was given 2 apples, a weird cracker, scraps like the fat off of a piece of meat or something, a piece of bread, and mostly tortillas and homemade gritty Spanish rice. Papini described how she tried to exercise every day so she could keep up a routine while she was in captivity. However, she had difficulty keeping track of the days because she did not sleep at regular times and generally slept a lot. Again, with the sleeping a lot, man. This woman can sleep anywhere. This woman can sleep absolutely anywhere, man. She has no problem with the sleeping. She sleeps in the van when she's being abducted. She sleeps in the van when she's being returned from the abduction. She's just sleeping all the time in the captivity, man, with the loud music. She's a sleeper, man. She likes the sleeping. Okie dokie. I mean, again, I've never been kidnapped, but I would think it might mess with your sleep cycles, and it might be a little bit difficult to sleep. I mean, detectives asked Papini how she could exercise without making noise that would alert her captors. Papini stated that she would pull the cable tight and tuck it between her legs. That doesn't really answer the question. Papini told detectives that her abductors punished her for trying to escape by burning her forearm. Papini could not describe the objects to the detectives, but believed they used something metal. Well, that would be kind of typical for her branding. I mean, Papini's abductors brought her with a bucket, initially described as a trash can for you to use as a toilet. Papini suggested to her abductors that they put kitty litter in the bucket. I try to say, if you put a line with a bag and put kitty litter in it, it'll probably make your job easier. They took the advice and lined the bucket with the kitty litter. All right. Papini was given a shower twice while she was being held. Papini could not recall the approximate days when she was given showers because she was unable to tell the passage of time while she was in captivity. Papini described the first shower as hurting her because she had burns and open wounds. Papini described the bathroom as having a high-pressure shower. The shower had light-colored speckled tile with a crack in it. There was no shower curtain, and the shower head was chrome and inexpensive. Papini's older abductor stood at the door while the younger abductor stood behind Papini. Papini did not look at her abductors because she was always told not to look at them. Papini was provided with a body wash that smelled like coconut, but no shampoo. Okay. Papini first stated that she washed her underwear in the shower, but later said she kept her underwear on while she showered and only had a few seconds to wash herself. Papini was not provided with a towel to dry herself. Instead, Papini tried to hit the younger abductor with something, but couldn't remember what it was that she used to hit her abductor. She stated, "I tried to hit her with something in the bathroom, and next time I went to the bathroom, everything was gone. The mirror was gone, the towel rack was gone." Detectives asked Papini how her hair had come to be cut. Papini told detectives that she did not know what led to her hair being cut. She believed it was a response to her making noise because she was moving, and the cable fixed to the pole in the closet clanged. Papini stated that whenever she would make noise, they would rush in. Papini had a hard time remembering that day, and eventually recalled what she thought was trying to make the bed. I want to say some smoothing out a blanket, and the cable made noise. Papini did not feel it was time for the trash can to be emptied on that day, and the bigger one came into the room, and Papini dropped to the floor on all fours. She had her hair pulled back already in what she believed was her original hair tie. The two women said something in Spanish to each other, and the one was outside the room. Papini said she was hit on the shoulder and yanked backwards and felt like it happened really fast. After her abductor cut her hair, she held it in her hand and stood over Papini. The woman told Papini, "I'm going to send it to your mother." Papini did not know it was used to cut her hair. This is a lot, man. This is a lot. She has a very rich, active imagination. All apparently, I mean, one would think, although we really haven't gone that far, but apparently, I mean, my working bet is that this is all to just cover up an affair. Which, you know. The sheriff's office asked Papini about a blog post written by Sherri Graff. Many people in the Reading area speculate that Papini wrote the blog post, which was titled "Keep Walking." The post appeared to have been written sometime in 2007. In the post, Graff described how she grew up in Shasta Lake, California, was a good athlete, but was picked on in high school by a group of Latinos. The post stated, "I used to come home in tears because I was getting suspended from school all the time for defending myself against the Latinos. The chief problem was I was drug free. That's what it says. White and proud of my blood and heritage. This really irked the group of Latino girls who constantly rag and attack me." The post described how Graff fought the girls and how it took 3 full-size men to pull me off of her. "I broke her nose and split her eyebrow." The post goes on to explain why it was titled "Keep Walking," because Graff's father told her to be proud of her after the fight with the other girls, and she kept walking when her shin was split open as a result of a fight. Graff concluded the post with, "Being white is more than just being aware of my skin, but of standing behind skinheads who are always around in spirit as well and having pride for my country." Detectives told Papini it appeared the post was originally written on MySpace. When detectives asked Papini if she had a MySpace, Papini said she did not remember. Papini told detectives that prior to her kidnapping, she hired an attorney to try to have the post removed. Papini said she believed someone else had written the post using the name Sherri Graff and described the post as awful. It was totally her. I mean, we all know that, right? It was totally her who wrote this thing. And of course, none of this happened, I'm sure. Okay. Papini's false statements to the feds, which is where the feds enter the picture, right? Because up till now, we've just been talking to state police, which, you know, poses its own set of problems. But we're not in state court right now, so let's enter the feds. On March the 2nd of 2017, Papini conducted a forensic interview with an FBI forensic interviewer, which was recorded and transcribed in its entirety. This was the first interview conducted without husband in the room. Papini said she continued to fear law enforcement and told the interviewer, who was female, that she did not trust her. Papini kept her head down and looked at the floor for the majority of the interview. At the beginning of the interview stated, "I just ask everyone to tell me the truth, okay?" Papini responded, "Okay." It would not be okay. In the interview, Papini provided the following information. This case is happening as we speak. This case is brand new, right? This case is brand new. This arrest was filed in March 3rd of this year. You know, but we have to go back in time to describe how we got to this wonderful, wonderful place. So this case is brand spanking new, man. Brand spanking new. My predictions, so very guilty. So very, very guilty is basically the direction we're going. So here's what she said to the feds. On the day she was abducted, Papini went out for a jog. She was able to recall that she was wearing black leggings, her black and white checkered Under Armour tennis shoes, and Nike jogging hoodie with the thumb holes. She said she left the house through the front door and ran down the driveway. She explained that she ran in the same direction every time and she was training for the 5K. Papini was able to describe the route she took and the people she saw along her way, ending with a right turn on the Sunset Drive. You know, she's doing pretty good at maintaining a consistent story. So, you know, points. Papini described her first encounter with her abductors. When she was about midway in the dirt road between Old Oregon Trail and Sunset Drive, she saw a woman in a vehicle was asking for help or signaling in some way. Then Papini took out an earbud and crossed the road to the left-hand side of the road, and the woman opened the door and pointed a gun at Papini. Papini squatted down in the grass, and the woman said something like, "I don't want to hurt you." Papini sat her phone down and then pulled her own hair and squished it into the headphones. I mean, this is pretty close to what she told the sheriff's office, so she's pretty good at remembering her story. She's got that going for her. Although as detectives will tell you, if you're too accurate in recounting your story, right, that's also a bit suspicious. Like if you can remember basically word for word, it's also a bit suspicious. You know, you expect details to change. You don't expect it to be perfectly consistent. But she's doing a good job remembering the major narrative, so she's got that going on for her. Papini sat her phone down, and then she pulled out her own hair and squished it into the headphones and held her hands above her head. Papini described the vehicle the abductors were in as a dark color, either like a dark blue or black, with a long window in the back. Hey, that's pretty consistent. Papini also said there were 4 doors. That's new detail. And the windows were tinted. That's consistent. Papini said that was about all she could remember. Upon further prompting, Papini said her abductor was wearing a hat and sunglasses and thought the hat was light colored, like a gray baseball cap. Papini said she knew her alleged abductors were Hispanic because their skin color was Hispanic colored, dark colored skin. Okay. Papini explained that when the abductor shouted at her, Papini took one earbud out, but she could not remember which earbud taken out. Papini was out of breath because it was midpoint through her run, and she already ran a mile and started slowing her pace by walking up to the grass. Papini described the door of the SUV opening on the passenger side and saw a woman holding a gun and described the gun as a short revolver. Papini squatted with her head down when she saw the gun. Papini explained to the abductor, told Papini to put down the phone, and they don't want to hurt me. Papini explained that she knew her family would find the phone, and the intention was for her family to find the hair along with the phone. Thinking ahead, I guess. I mean, you know. Later in the interview, Papini explained there might have been times when her abductors were not covering their faces. Papini stated, "I don't know. There could have been, but I don't look up. I was really scared, and the more I was on the ground or kept my head down, the less they would hurt me." Papini could not remember her abductor getting her out of the car. The next thing Papini remembers that she was in the back of the car. She could not remember how the door of the car opened for her or how she got into the car. Papini described how there was something over her head so she couldn't see and something binding her arms together behind her. And her legs were bent behind her so she could move them a little but not a lot. Papini explained that she was on the floor of the vehicle facing the rear. She could hear 2 women talking, but they spoke Spanish, and Papini did not understand Spanish. The interview asked Papini to tell her what the abductors were saying. Papini responded, "It's not English, it's Spanish, I don't know Spanish." The interviewer asked Papini what tone of the abductors' voices were. Papini responded, "I don't know. They speak really fast. I would just say it was a normal volume." Papini could not see anything inside the vehicle or out of the windows because she had something on her head. Papini said that as they were driving, she could feel turns and she was nauseous. Papini kept falling asleep, but was a yucky feeling of being asleep. The next thing she remembers is being up in the room. It's pretty consistent. Papini described waking up in the room on the bed. The bed was a plain mattress on the floor, underneath a window. Papini's body was across the mattress, with her head towards the window and her feet hanging off the edge of the mattress. Papini stated her legs were no longer bound, but she had zip ties around her waist. The room had a dresser in it along with a mattress, but nothing else. Next thing Papini remembered was breaking the zip ties of her wrist. There are zip ties, together on my wrists. This is what this little scar is from. Arms are in the front. I thought they were in the back, though. I'm so confused. The interviewer noted that Papini's zip-tied arms moved from being bound behind her to in front of her. But Papini could not explain how that happened. Papini went on to explain that she and her husband had watched a YouTube video about how to break zip ties and tried the maneuver, but it didn't work. Instead, Papini bit them and chewed the hell out of them, and she broke them. The interviewer asked Papini about the clothing she had on when she woke up in the room. Papini said that she was wearing a plain t-shirt and her original underwear, no sock and no bra. Papini did not know what happened to her original clothing. Papini said that after she got the zip ties off, she stood on the bed and jumped up to pull the board off the window, but the boards were on the outside, so she could not see outside. Papini could not say whether the window could open. She was only able to get off one board before the abductors came in the room. When her abductors came into the room after she got the board off the window, Papini was pulled down from behind and was hit hard. Papini described how she felt a burning feeling from her hair being pulled. Papini further described she heard her abductors yelling as they came into the room. She couldn't remember where her body landed after her abductors pulled her down, and she didn't say anything because all she saw were stars. The very next thing Papini remembered was she woke up in the room, the dresser was gone, and the mattress was now where the dresser had been, and she had a chain around her waist. So this is consistent, more or less, right? I mean, this is pretty consistent from the earlier story about these details. So, I mean, she's got the timeline roughly down, which is good since, you know, she wrote it. Papini said that she did not think about who would have abducted her and why. Instead, she was thinking about how to get away. The next thing that happened after she woke up was the chain around her waist, was the door was open and a plate with food and a plastic bottle of water were put in her room, and then the door shut. Papini described the abductors. The smaller one had dark curly hair that's kind of short. So curly that if she didn't put product in there, it'd probably be really frizzy. That seems like a strange detail to me. But okay. And wearing brown shoes that look like Guess knockoffs. It's a weirdly specific thing to notice. The brown shoes are specifically Guess knockoffs? I mean, okay. And blue jeans, had pierced ears and wore those big hoop earrings, and thin, almost drawn in eyebrows. The bigger abductor had dark eyes, really thick eyebrows, and dark hair with strands of gray. Papini went on to describe the food she was given, which was mostly grits or cream of wheat on a cheap paper plate with ridges on it. She was not provided silverware, so she folded the plate and shoveled the food into her mouth. Papini said she got a lot of scraps, sometimes bread, crackers, and apple, leftovers like from meat and some rice, black beans, chunks of bread. I mean, the next thing Papini remembered was going to sleep. This woman can sleep absolutely anywhere, ma'am. Papini said she was asleep for a very long time, waking every once in a while, and felt sick and dizzy. Papini said the first time her clothes were changed was after her first shower, and she wanted to describe the events that occurred when given the first shower. Papini explained that she was sitting on the bed in the room when the doctors came in to take her to the shower. They hit her on her head and hip, but she didn't know what with. The bigger one had her hair pulled back and bandana around her face, and the littler one had on a lacy mask. Both women had their guns and told Papini not to struggle or not to move. Papini later explained that the little one held a handgun that wasn't a revolver, and the bigger one held a different gun that she always either had in her hand or her pants. The abductors unlocked the chain and brought Papini around the corner to a bathroom with water running. The little one stood at the door while the bigger one went back and forth in and out of the room. Papini took her clothes off except her underwear and used the coconut scented body wash the bigger one threw at her to wash herself and her clothes. Papini described the bathroom as being a small bathroom with a sink on the left, a towel rack on the right, and a combined shower and tub with a cheap metal spigot, gray floor tiles, and brown wall tiles, and a crack in the shower tile. She even remembered the crack in the shower tile detail from her earlier story. So, you know. Papini said she tried to get her abductors to talk to her while she was in the shower and asked her abductors, "Where am I? Why am I here?" But they didn't respond to her. The little one had a really thick accent and said, we sell you. The bigger one told Papini, "Your buyer is a cop." Then when the abductors were talking to each other, the big one said something to the little one, and she turned her body and lowered her gun, at which point Papini jumped on her and shoved her face on the toilet. Papini explained that it was slippery, and she slipped and cut her foot on the stupid side of the cabinet. Then the big one came and dragged Papini back into the bedroom by her hair and shoved a bitter liquid down Papini's throat until she was choking and gagging. Papini explained the abductors hit her, locked her back up, and left her in the room. Papini put clothes on that had been laid out for the bed and laid out her underwear to dry. Papini described the closet, chain, and pole. There were 2 doors that opened outward, 2 shelves, and a really weird metal pole that looked like a large screw that went through both shelves, which is what the cable was attached to. Papini said she liked being in the closet because it was warm. Anyway. And when the closet doors were shut, the chain hooked to the pole didn't make any noise that would alert her abductors. Another $50 from Kathy Carver. Thank you very much for your generous super chats, Kathy. It is super appreciated. Thank you. That's 2 from Kathy, and it is very much appreciated. Be like Kathy and donate super chats to help fund the stream. It is always appreciated. Papini explained although she was sore and hurt all the time, she needed to stay awake. Well, she had problems with that, though. And to stay strong, so she would do yoga and move and stretch her legs. Also, if Papini was outside the closet, she could tuck the cable under her thigh and lift her other leg. Papini also described how, while she was in the closet, she took a screw and was trying to chip away at the drywall. She thought she could use the screw to chip at the drywall. She might be able to escape. Okay. Papini described how her abductor's behavior changed during the time she was in captivity. And the little one changed a lot, but the big one was always mean and cruel. Papini said the little one would pull the big one off her sometimes when the big one was beating her, and the big one would hit the little one. Papini explained she did not know Spanish, but she felt like the little one was protective. Papini suggested to the little one that she line the trash can with plastic bag and put kitty litter in it, and the little one did as Papini suggested. When the interviewer asked Papini if it was a bucket or a trash can, Papini responded, "It was a bucket, trash can. I mean, it's a bathroom. It's like a little cylindrical latrine. It was gray, had ridges on the outside." Papini described what happened when she was branded on her back. Papini said the woman brought a table into her room while she was on the bed. Papini described the table as heavy. It made a loud thunk when the woman set it down. The table was short to the ground and had a marble design, but the marble design was peeling, so obviously it was fake because Papini could see the brown wood underneath, the marble-like laminates. Now, I just wonder, like, in her own head, what's going on here in this particular detail with the marble-like laminates on this wood table. Is she like literally going for it was made up to be like a sacrificial altar, right? So she was going to be sacrificed on the marble, but it's not really marble though. It's just laminate on top of wood, and she can see it, but she thinks it's like a sacrificial thing. I don't know. Thomas donates $50 to say, "I feel like I'm listening to an audiobook. What did I come to?" Well, you're kind of listening to an audiobook. You are listening to the fictional tale. You are listening to the fictional tale of Papini's kidnapping as told by Papini to the FBI. The woman put Papini on the table with the chain still around her waist with the cable attached. Her wrists were wrapped around the front of the table as if hugging her, and her legs were not all the way on the table, with both her hands and legs on the table, tied to the table. Papini believed it was both women who put her on the table. Papini was wearing a t-shirt, and one of the 2 women, she wasn't sure which one, cut the t-shirt up in the back. The 2 women were talking to each other in Spanish, and Papini looked away and closed her eyes. The little one was sitting to Papini's right and slightly behind her, while the big one left the room and came back and set something down. Papini was putting all her weight on her chest, which hurt because of her breast implants. Papini said she was dizzy and nauseous. She kept moving and was hit every time she moved. Papini said the branding tool made this awful popping noise when it was put to her skin. Papini said it was hard to describe the feeling she felt when she was being branded. She was scared of saying anything and didn't want to make any noise. She couldn't turn her head to see what the woman used to brand her, and she kept her eyes closed. Once the woman was finished branding her, Papini said, "She untied me, the little one, and kicked me off the table. The little one dragged the table out. The big one stood there. As she walked out, Papini still had her shirt on, but was cut up in the back. She fell asleep, and when she woke up, there was another shirt for her to put on, and the one that had been cut was gone." Papini said her hair was cut towards the beginning of her captivity. She was making noise, and the big one came in and grabbed her hair and pulled it back. The little one stood at the door. The big one told Papini, "They're not looking for you. They're not going to find you," and told Papini she was going to send her hair to Papini's mother. How are those two things mutually compatible? Like, they're not looking for you. They're not going to find you. Also, I'm going to send your own hair to your mother. That seems counterproductive towards the "they're not looking for you" goal. They weren't looking for you before. I think they might start now. And told Papini did not know what was used to cut her hair. Papini explained that she felt really bad and reasoned her abductors did not know her because otherwise they wouldn't send her hair to her mother, but would send it to her husband. I mean, I In Papini's prior interviews with law enforcement, she discussed that her abductors read her articles and told her no one believed her, and law enforcement was involved in her abduction. When asked about this, Papini stated her abductors did not read her any articles or show her any news coverage, but instead told her while cutting her hairs, "No one's going to find you. They don't believe you. They think you just ran away. The police are not looking for you." When asked if she was worried no one was going to believe her, Papini responded, "I was worried no one was going to find me." So she's changed the detail of her story. $9.99 from Kathy, Long Beach, California. "Sorry, broke as F, but enjoying this episode. Plus the comments are comedic gold." I am. This is a lot. This is a lot. Papini described what happened to her on the day of her return. Papini was in her room and was on the bed wearing sweatpants, a sweatshirt, her original underwear, and socks. And she heard a gunshot and she got really scared, saying, "I think I peed my pants actually." Papini said she got really scared and stayed in the closet. She heard shuffling and the sound of keys being grabbed off the table, but nothing else, and she heard the music. Papini said she yanked on things and screamed until she fell asleep in the closet. Then the little one came in and put food in the room. Papini ate the food and then felt dizzy, nauseous, and yucky. Papini thought she felt bad because she wasn't eating or drinking much. The dizziness and nausea would happen whenever she would sit up or stand. The next thing Papini remembered was she fell asleep. Okay. The little one came back into Papini's room and woke her up by hitting her in the face. Papini did not know what she was hit with, but her nose was bleeding, although it wasn't much. The woman walked out of the room and the door was still open. There were clothes on the bed and it seemed like she was instructing Papini, so Papini put the clothes on. Then the woman hit Papini again, put something on her head, and unlocked the cable. Papini started walking and stubbed her toe. Papini did not remember if there were any restraints on her hands or feet. Papini was placed... thank you for the $5 super chat. This is appreciated. Amazon will let anyone self-publish. Good editors are cheaper than lawyers. Yeah, I mean, she's well on her way to, this is the tale, man. This is the tale. Papini started walking and stubbed her toe. Papini did not remember if there were any restraints on her hand or feet. Papini was placed in a vehicle. She did not know if it was the same vehicle or a different vehicle as the day of her abduction because she could not see the vehicle due to the covering on her head. Well, at least she got that detail right. Papini described the vehicle as smelling different, that smelled like sewage and dirt. Papini was on the floor of the vehicle with her hands behind her, bound with something metal that was very sharp. Papini did not hear any voices in the car, only the radio. She kept trying to count songs, but she fell asleep. Okay. Then she felt the car stop and she started crying. The little one instructed Papini out. Papini remembered hearing 3 clipping sounds, and the restraint on her wrists and ankles were cut. Papini fell out of the car and the car drove away. Papini pulled over what was over her head and ran after the car. Papini did not know why she ran after the car, but explained, "I didn't want her to leave me." I mean, that's kind of a reasonable reaction, all things considered. Because, I mean, it's like Mouch's, it's like Stockholm or something, right? It's like, yeah. So, I mean, okay, I guess. Papini could not provide any details of where she was dropped off in relation to where she was found, only that it was an agricultural road. The interviewer asked Papini if Papini had any questions, and Papini asked, "Did they figure out what it says on my back?" Referencing the branding. The interviewer asked Papini if she had looked at it to see what it says, and Papini responded, "It's really hard to see. I'd have to look at a picture at it." The interviewer asked Papini what she thought it said, and Papini responded, "I think it says Exodus, but I can't read the numbers." Okay. The interviewer asked Papini if she had any idea what meaning might be for the brand. Papini responded, "No. I read it, but it's a really confusing Bible passage. It's like a weird part of the Bible. It doesn't make any sense." Okay. Random Exodus passages for the win. Okay. Sure. Why not? On March the 31st of 2017, husband contacted the FBI and provided the following information. Papini told husband that the room in which she was kept had a paneling similar to a headboard on the bottom half of the wall and drywall on the top half. I've seen rooms like that. Papini described the carpet as orange-colored and shaggy. Husband provided photos of drawings he made with Papini of the room and the device used to chain Papini to a hole in the closet in the room. On June the 5th of 2017, husband contacted the FBI and provided the following information. Husband and Papini recently traveled north to Ashland and Medford, Oregon. Papini had no problems driving north and did not react negatively. While in Oregon, they went to a Dick's Sporting Goods. While in the gun store, the section, Papini was fine until she saw the display of revolvers. When Papini saw the revolver, she shut down and got scared. Papini pointed to a black Ruger and said, "That's what it looked like." Husband informed the agents that Papini wanted to sit down with a sketch artist. Husband said that Papini was seeing a plastic surgeon to have the burns on her arm repaired with laser treatments. During one of the treatments, Papini smelled the burning hair from the laser and she shut down and the treatment had to be stopped. On June the 8th of 2017, Papini met with the FBI to review a photo array. In that meeting, Papini told the agents that the older woman who took her had bushy, thick eyebrows, and the younger woman had curly hair and thin eyebrows that had been overly tweezed. Neither woman had a widow's peak. Okay. On June the 22nd, 2017, Papini met with the FBI sketch artist to create renderings of 2 Hispanic females who abducted her. During the meeting, Papini described the older woman as approximately 2 to 3 inches taller than Papini, with long, smooth hair that she kept either in a braid or ponytail that would hit Papini in the head whenever she was leaned over. She also said the older woman had fat hands and fingers with smooth skin and had coffee breath all the time and smelled like she drank sweetened coffee. Coffee shaming, ma'am. Coffee shaming. Papini described the younger females having coarse, curly hair with no bangs. She said the younger female was shorter, with a muscular build and wider in the hip area. Not thin, but not overweight. Papini told the FBI sketch artist that the younger abductor wore large hoop earrings and had hairy arms. Both women were clean and smelled of detergent. Papini provided the sketch artist with reference photos she had printed from the internet to show the skin condition of the older abductor and provided a reference for facial features and mask placements for both abductors. Papini told the FBI sketch artist that both abductors wore masks when they interacted with her. As such, the sketch artist left the bottom of the faces undrawn and provided Papini with mask examples to use in the sketches. On June the 27th, 2017, the FBI sketch artist sent sample mask images and draft copies of the sketches of 2 Hispanic women with masks to Papini for approval. Based on Papini's suggestions, second drafts were sent. So she's not approving right away. She's sending back for further details. So engaging the process. I think that shows some cleverness from her, right? It's like, rather than be like, oh yeah, that's them. It's like, no, it's not quite right. We need further changes. I mean, you know, give her some points for having some brains. I mean, you know, she's thinking a little bit about some of these things, you know, and she has a story with a pretty consistent narrative, all things considered. And she's, you know, not overly eager or overly difficult. She's, you know, she's got some brain points. She spent some time as she was, you know, having some sausage in her mouth, thinking about this in detail, apparently, I guess. Okay, so a second draft of sketches was sent. On July 18th, the FBI received confirmation of the approval. The sketches were finalized and submitted to be used in FBI wanted posters that were disseminated worldwide in the search for the abductors. On August the 14th of 2017, husband contacted the FBI and provided the following information. Husband and Papini were recently talking about events that occurred during Papini's captivity. Papini described being bound to a black coffee table with granite veneer or laminate top that was cracked in the top right corner. Papini was bound lying face down on the top of the table and then was branded. Husband did Google image search and found a picture of a table that Papini said it was like the table she was on. They provided that to the agents. So husband is trying, man. Husband is trying to support his wife, and he's going to find out some very uncomfortable truths at some point. It wasn't so much with the abduction, it was that I was blowing my ex-boyfriend, whose remnants are on my clothing. I feel for husband, man. I feel for husband on every possible level. He was being cheated on. This woman did her dirty, man. This woman did her dirty, man. Husband sounds like he's a very supportive guy, and she did him wrong. She did him wrong. Man, it'll black pill you if you don't watch it, you know? On October 26th, husband and Papini met with the FBI. Based on tips the FBI received, FBI agents showed Papini 2 mugshots of 2 different women and 5 Facebook photos of a third one. Papini did not identify the women in the shots, though Papini could not positively identify the third woman from the Facebook photo. She stated the woman's eyebrows were like the ones of the younger female captors. Papini provided additional information regarding her captivity. In the beginning, while Papini was taking her first shower, Papini begged the younger woman to let her go as the older woman walked past, holding something in her hands and making a tisking or hissing sound at Papini. The younger woman said, "We sell you," and buy her as a cop. Papini said this was the only time a cop was mentioned. When Papini was using the shower, she heard the older woman use the Spanish word, whatever. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that. Metate. During the first shower, Papini fought with the younger woman. Papini cut herself on something in the bathroom and lots of cuts at the time. Also during the fight, Papini saw a pointy canine. Oh, a pointy canine, referring to your tooth. So she had a pointy tooth. Okay. Through the younger woman's mask. When Papini was tied to the coffee table, being branded, she heard the following Spanish words being spoken by the older Hispanic woman. Deja, puda, mira, and frilonta. The older woman said the word Frilonta directly to Papini in a derogatory manner, showing disgust towards Papini, but the younger Hispanic woman did not show his disgust. During the branding, Papini yelled out and was hit. The older Hispanic female was touching Papini with the fingers. Additionally, Papini discussed her November 2016 conversation with Man 1 about meeting together, and explained the text regarding having an additional plan was about making a dinner plan with her friend so Papini could get out of the house to meet with Man 1 without suspicion from husband. She's doing him wrong, ma'am. She is doing him wrong. Oof. On November the 8th of 2017, Papini met with the FBI agents to review a photo array of possible subjects. Papini did not positively identify any of the individuals, but did provide additional information. Papini further described the younger captors having defined curls with lots of product that sometimes looked crunchy and rarely lost definition, as well as a wispy hairline. Papini found 3 pictures from the internet that looked similar to the younger woman's hair and hairline, provided these pictures to the agents. Papini stated that certain SUV models, Tahoes and Suburbans, made her stomach hurt, and described the vehicle in which she was abducted as having a rear door that looked like a hatchback or SUV. Husband showed agents a photo of Papini's foot taken at the hospital the day she was found, which husband asserted showed a mark on the side of Papini's right foot, corroborating her recollection regarding the fight she had with the younger captor in the bedroom. Papini said she stepped onto the edge of the tub and was flung herself towards the younger captor. Papini scraped her foot in the bottom of the sink along the baseboard of the vanity. The scrape bled a little, but she was not dripping. Papini admitted she exaggerated the incident in an earlier interview and apologized she pumped up the description. Papini said she did not see the photo husband showed the agents before describing the injury to husband, which prompted husband to go back to the photos she had retrieved from the sheriff's office. On March 16th of 2018, Papini contacted the FBI and stated during a session with her therapist, Papini recalled additional information. Papini, this therapist has got to feel a little bit treated too, because this is a weird therapy session now for the therapist, right? Now that he's learning all these wonderful details, I wonder if he caught on at some point that it wasn't real, because that's got to be a weird moment for the therapist, right? It's like, wait a second, is she making all this up? Right? It's got to be weird, ma'am. To the 400 of you who are currently watching, thank you. Please remember to hit the red subscribe button. If it's red, you haven't subscribed. Hit it so it won't be red anymore. Okay. Papini came to believe the burns on her arms were made with heated up kitchen utensils, such as the back end of a butter knife or spoon. Papini had silverware at home that matched the scars on her arms. Papini was asked to provide pictures, but could not at the time, because as she and her husband were preparing to take a trip to a hunting cabin out by Planta, California, where there would be no cell reception. On March 21st, 2018, Papini sent the FBI agent a text with a photo of a spoon. In the text message, Papini stated, "I don't recall seeing anything other than the shine, but now that we look closer, you see the first spot she touched my skin when I jerked away, and it appears to be drag marks. The second one where I flinched, and a deep mark where she held my arm and pressured it in and held there." On May the 7th, 2018, Thomas gives $10 to say, "Remember to hit the bell icon and ignore it. Thank you very much." On May the 17th, husband contacted the FBI and stated during the therapy session, Papini remembered one of the women holding Papini captive tried to pour a sticky substance down her mouth. Papini wiped her mouth off with her underwear, leaving a sticky substance on her underwear. And then, of course, what happened? She fell asleep. This woman can sleep absolutely anywhere, anytime. She is not going to miss one bit of shut-eye. Well, my friends, This has been an interesting tale. This has been an interesting tale of a kidnapping with the Hispanic women, with the SUV and the tinted windows and the zip ties, which were both behind her and in front of her, that she bit off, and the pole in the closet with the chain and the leash, and the shower without the shower curtain, and the coconut body wash. Don't forget the coconut body wash. That's really important detail. And the Spanish TV and the Spanish radio station, and the buyer who's a cop, and the sleeping. Always the sleeping. But sadly, my friends, the story is about to come to a crashing halt. Because because the FBI, actually does investigations. And, is reasonably good at it, all things considered. I know they get some hate, but the FBI can be pretty good at their job sometimes. So this is the part where it all falls apart. Anne says this has more plot holes than quality Swiss cheese. Well, we're about to learn about the Swiss cheese a little bit more as the FBI begins to learn the truth. On September the 26th of 2019, the Sheriff's Office deputy submitted a letter to the California Department of Justice requesting a familial DNA search for unknown male DNA contributor identified on Papini's underwear. On March the 19th of 2020, the California Department of Justice Familial Search Committee voted to release a familial search result to provide analytical assistance in an effort to identify an unknown male DNA. Uh-oh. On March the 19th of 2020, the California Department of Justice received an email identifying person 2 as a potential relative of unknown DNA contributor identified in Papini's clothing. Person 2 had 2 living biological sons, one of whom was ex-boyfriend. Uh-oh. An investigation into ex-boyfriend revealed that he was briefly associated with an address owned by Papini's parents. Additionally, the investigation revealed that ex-boyfriend and Papini were joint subscribers to an AOL email account, and that ex-boyfriend and Papini had a history of financial transactions. In July 2020, FBI special agents reviewed the ex-boyfriend's brother's social media pages and identified a table similar to the appearance of the table Papini described to law enforcement. Uh-oh. So the table that she described is very similar to a table owned by the ex-boyfriend's brother. I wonder where she got the idea from. Uh-oh. On June the 9th of 2020, FBI special agent collected discarded items from a trash can outside of ex-boyfriend's residence in Costa Mesa, including a discarded Honest Honey green tea bottle. These items were provided to the California Department of Justice for analysis. They concluded the DNA obtained from the mouth area of it to be matched for the unknown male. Right? This is roughly the same way they caught the Golden State Killer. And now they have some questions for the ex-boyfriend. Hey, we couldn't help noticing that your DNA was on this underwear. Would you care to explain that in some way? It's coming crashing down, ma'am. It comes crashing down hard. On August the 10th, no, she didn't blow the dad. It was a familial match. The dad's DNA was on profile, not the son. So it was a familial match to the dad, which means it was someone in his family, hence the son. So she didn't blow the dad too. It was a familial match. Okay. On August the 10th of 2020, investigators interviewed ex-boyfriend, and he told them the following. The ex-boyfriend admitted to investigators that he helped Papini run away. Ex-boyfriend explained that Papini was a good friend, and she asked him for help. Papini told him that her husband was beating and sexually assaulting her, and she was trying to escape. Uh-huh. Given what we know about husband, that does not seem particularly plausible. Papini told ex-boyfriend that he had filed police reports, but the police were not doing anything to stop the husband's abuse. Ex-boyfriend said she had something planned up and she was trying to get help to get away from her husband and be a good friend. Mr. Steve VC says she's outdone Juice's fairy tale. She's definitely outdone it for depth. This has depth. She's much better at world building. Now, there's been criticism from members in our chat who say that this is not particularly good world building and they could do better. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, you got to give her points for trying. She's built a full complex world with characters and depth of characters, and man, she's got it down. Okay. Ex-boyfriend and Papini had known each other since they were 13 or 14 years old and had a long history together as friends. The two also had a romantic relationship and previously been engaged. Ex-boyfriend sounds like he dodged a bullet. Ex-boyfriend sounds like he dodged a bullet hard. Husband wasn't as lucky, unfortunately. Ex-boyfriend investigator told Papini reached out to him out of the blue. They had not spoken in a long time because she got married. She had kids. Ex-boyfriend estimated that sometimes in 2015, he was cleaning his house and came across a box of old photos and personal items that belonged to Papini from when they were in a relationship together. Ex-boyfriend sent the box of the personal items to Panini's parents and then called the parents to let them know the box was coming. Ex-boyfriend did not know if sending Panini's personal items back to her parents was what prompted Papini to reach out to him. When Papini first called ex-boyfriend, he was at work. Papini told ex-boyfriend that she had a plan to run away to him and that she had been saving some of her cash and planned to send some money to ex-boyfriend for her to have when she was with him. Ex-boyfriend stated that she kind of laid out the situation. Papini did not go into a lot of detail, and the call was brief because ex-boyfriend was at work. This is a lot, man. You guys are having a lot of fun in the chat, and I just wish I was there for you with you, because this is some fun shit, man. This is just, I wish I was there in the chat with you, because it sounds like you guys are having all kinds of fun. All right, let's press on. Didn't I already do this case? I don't think so. This does. I don't think I did this case. This doesn't sound very familiar to me. I'm gonna have to go with no on that one, Con. I don't think I think I would have remembered these details. I have to say. I don't think I did this one. No. Okay. Papini told ex-boyfriend to get a prepaid phone to communicate with her. Initially, Papini and ex-boyfriend called each other on their regular phones, but eventually they began to communicate on prepaid phones that were not attributable to them. Papini devised a plan for ex-boyfriend to drive to Reading, and ex-boyfriend agreed. Ex-boyfriend admitted to investigators there could have been a better plan, and the planning process was not very long. Investigators asked ex-boyfriend if there were any females involved in helping Papini escape, and ex-boyfriend said no. Investigators asked ex-boyfriend if he'd seen the sketches of the woman who allegedly abducted Papini, and ex-boyfriend responded, yeah, I don't know any Mexican girls. I wish I was in the chat with you, man, because you guys are having way too much fun in there. Ex-boyfriend initially could not recall how he knew where to pick up Papini. Later in the interview, ex-boyfriend recalled Papini sent him a care package that included the location of where she wanted him to pick him up. In the summer of 2016, ex-boyfriend and Papini had begun talking, and ex-boyfriend let Papini know he was in the hospital. Papini sent a care package to ex-boyfriend's residence after he'd been home from the hospital for a while. Included in the care package was a piece of paper with the location where Papini wanted ex-boyfriend to pick her up. Ex-boyfriend thought he must have Googled the location to get an idea of where to go. Ex-boyfriend asked a friend, person 3, to rent a car for him to use, but did not explain why he needed the car. I'm not sure why he couldn't do it himself, but okay. On October the 31st of 2016, person 3 rented a dark-colored Dodge Challenger for ex-boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend did not specify what kind of car person 3 should rent, but did not expect him to rent a sports car. Ex-boyfriend told investigators that on November the 2nd of 2016, he got up early in the morning and drove the rented Dodge Challenger from Southern California to Redding. When ex-boyfriend got to Redding, he went to Trader Joe and bought some stuff and ate breakfast. He stopped at Starbucks and waited to hear from Papini about where he should drive to meet her. Ex-boyfriend believed Papini communicated with him on the prepaid phone using prepaid phone she had. Papini sent ex-boyfriend a text message detailing where she wanted to be picked up. Ex-boyfriend recalled he picked Papini up on a street called Old Something, just outside of Redding. Ex-boyfriend described that as she was driving up on the road, Papini was walking down the road. Ex-boyfriend pulled up to Papini, opened the passenger side of the door of the vehicle, and folded the front door down so she could get in the back seat. Papini was wearing athletic clothes when ex-boyfriend picked her up. She had been jogging and was all sweaty. Papini got into the vehicle and laid down in the back seat. Papini drove straight back to Southern California, stopping only a few times for gas and coffee. Papini stayed in the backseat of the vehicle the entire length of the trip. Ex-boyfriend and Papini did not talk much during the drive back to Costa Mesa. Ex-boyfriend recalled that Papini was worried about her kids and was having a hard time with that, but otherwise, the ride was fairly quiet. Ex-boyfriend recalled that Papini took a nap and slept for most of the drive. Good times. Jay Farr says if this goes to trial, you'll know she'll testify. I think you're right. And that is truly the saddest part of this. That is the saddest part of this because this is federal, which means that we can't get cameras. Now, if you guys donate like $50,000, I will go to this trial and I will go in person and live stream it. The reason I say I need to make it full time. So I do have an NFT to sell. So does anyone want an Uncivil Law NFT for $50,000? Because I am. During the period of her disappearance, Papini never left ex-boyfriend residence. Papini asked ex-boyfriend to pick up clothes for her to wear. Ex-boyfriend purchased sweets, socks, and t-shirts from Target, TJ Maxx, or Ross, whatever he was closest to on the way back from work. Ex-boyfriend said he did not buy much clothing for Papini and bought grays, darks, basics, whatever they had. Ex-boyfriend continued to go to work every day while Papini stayed at the residence. Ex-boyfriend slept on the couch in the living room, and Papini had her own room. Ex-boyfriend lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and Papini selected the room she wanted to stay in. Ex-boyfriend believed Papini purposely selected the room with less exposure. Ex-boyfriend told investigators it might sound bland, but they really were just talking, hung out, and ate food, but didn't go anywhere. Papini cleaned the house a couple of times and did whatever she thought was needed, and she was just feeling for herself, she was doing her own thing. Papini had a lot of private time and just wanted to be in the room with the door shut. Ex-boyfriend was not even there most of the time. Thank you for the Canadian $5. How about 50,000 rubles? Appreciate it. Thank you. The closet of the room of ex-boyfriend described as Panini's room looked very similar to the closet Papini described in her previous interviews with law enforcement and included the pole as described by Papini. During the interview with ex-boyfriend, investigators asked him if Papini did anything with the window in the room she stayed in the house. Ex-boyfriend told investigator there were boards over the window, so she couldn't see. There was no light coming in. She wanted it to be dark. Ex-boyfriend said he put the boards over the window because Papini asked him to, and stated, she asked me if there's a way to seal the window up. She crazy. Ex-boyfriend described the wood he used to cover the windows as 3 sheets of particle board or pressed board. Ex-boyfriend showed the investigators there's no other reason to board the windows because no neighbors or people from outside could see into the window. Papini had stayed with the ex-boyfriend a couple days when she asked him to put boards over the windows. Ex-boyfriend believed Papini was purposely trying to lose weight while staying with him. Papini ate whatever boyfriend bought, but would eat small portions. Ex-boyfriend stated she was not eating as much as she would. She just minimized what she was eating. Both ex-boyfriend and Papini made food for them to eat, but Papini would, for example, eat a half of a banana instead of a whole banana. Joshua says, please stream until 4 a.m. for us Rakita orphans. I don't know, man. This is great. I wish there was more. I wish there was more beyond this because I would stay up and read more. Investigators asked ex-boyfriend what happened with Papini's hair. Ex-boyfriend told them she chopped that. Ex-boyfriend came home from work one day and Papini had cut her hair. Ex-boyfriend could not remember what Papini did with the hair she cut off and did not know she had thrown it in the trash. Ex-boyfriend recalled that Papini cut her hair within a few days of coming to stay with him. Ex-boyfriend believed that cutting her hair was one of the first things Papini did while staying with him. I have to go through the chat after reading. I can only scroll so far back in the live chat, Stephanie, unfortunately. But I will try to. I'll try to read as much of the chat as is made available to me when I'm done, because this is great stuff. It does seem like you guys are having a great time over there. She is cray cray. Ex-boyfriend knew about the injuries Papini had when she was discovered. Ex-boyfriend explained that Papini created those injuries while staying with him, including hitting herself to create bruises and burning herself on her arms. Ex-boyfriend stated he helped her create some of the injuries, although he never laid hands directly on her. For example, she told him, bank a puck off my leg. So he shot a puck off her leg, lightly. Ex-boyfriend did not help Papini burn her arm and stated, that was self-inflicted. I didn't burn anything on her arm there. Ex-boyfriend admitted to investigators he was confused by Papini's injuring herself, stated, there's not too many people that come up and say, hurt me. I'm not physically ever with women. I mean, I just don't. Papini didn't start to create injuries on herself until close to the time she decided to leave ex-boyfriend to go home. Ex-boyfriend believed Papini had initially planned to stay with her for a longer period of time. Yeah, Yeah. She went on a whorecation. It's about right. Is he liable since he helped her? No, he didn't do anything illegal. And I don't see any liability for him that's obvious. He didn't do anything illegal. And he doesn't know about any of these illegal intentions she has, so so far, at least in the narrative, I don't see any criminal liability or exposure for ex-boyfriend. Nothing's obvious. Ex-boyfriend described to investigators how Papini had asked him to brand her. Papini told ex-boyfriend to purchase a wood burning tool from Hobby Lobby. Okay, guys. Apparently the official white woman burning implement place is Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby is the place you go for all your branding related needs. Wow. The nearest Hobby Lobby was in Huntington Beach, so ex-boyfriend drove to the Hobby Lobby in Huntington Beach and bought the tool. By this time, Papini was aware of the news stories about her disappearance and didn't want people to see her. Ex-boyfriend clarified that he and Papini didn't watch television because he did not have a television at the time, but Papini had a cell phone she used to read the news. Incidentally, like, if she had not lied to the police and had not, she hadn't done anything illegal either. I mean, right? She hadn't done anything illegal by going on her horcation. So, you know, up until the line to the police part, you know, she probably didn't break any laws. It's getting worse though. Ex-boyfriend clarified that he and Papini did not watch television because he didn't have television at the time, but Papini had a cell phone she used to read the news. Papini did not go with ex-boyfriend to the Hobby Lobby because she never left the house during the time she stayed with him. Ex-boyfriend told investigators he used cash to purchase the wood burning tool. Ex-boyfriend described the wood burning tool as a small plug-in tool similar in size to an electric toothbrush. The letter snapped into the top of it, and the rod heated up like a soldering iron. Ex-boyfriend believed the letters were made out of brass. When ex-boyfriend returned with the wood burning tool, he and Papini sat on the floor next to an electrical outlet so they could plug the tool into the outlet. Ex-boyfriend sat behind Papini, and Papini pulled her shirt up so that ex-boyfriend could use the tool to make a brand. Wow. Ex-boyfriend here might be pussy whipped too, because not only did he go to the Hobby Lobby by himself, but now he's gonna brand this girl. You know, at this point, I have to say, out of self-preservation, I'd be thinking no, because this woman has already, you know, beat herself and stuff, and the criminal, like, if she makes a story against me, like, I look guilty as shit. So I don't know what's going through his head, other than I want some poontang, but man, it must be some really good poontang. It must just be the best poontang ever, because, like, this sounds like I'm putting myself in some jeopardy at this point. You know? Because if she says, man, the boyfriend kidnapped me, and here are the scars and shit, and he boarded up the windows, he's going to have a bad time. So, just saying. But fortunately, that didn't happen because we blamed the two Mexican women. She's obviously a freak. Maybe she's really, really good. Yeah, maybe that's the issue. Yeah. Ex-boyfriend sat behind Papini, and Papini pulled her shirt up so ex-boyfriend could use the tool. Papini told ex-boyfriend the phrase she wanted to be burned onto her skin. Ex-boyfriend couldn't remember the phrase, but it had a meaning to Papini. Ex-boyfriend recalled that he branded Papini's right shoulder using the word burning tool. Ex-boyfriend recalled it was Papini's right shoulder because he was left-handed, and he used the right hand to hold Papini's right arm and rested his left hand on her back so as to hold the tool steady. Ex-boyfriend said he was nervous and wanted to hold steady while doing the brand because the tool was so hot it glowed red. Ex-boyfriend wanted to do a good job. Okay. Ex-boyfriend wanted to do a good job and make the brand straight, but he knew it must be painful, and he didn't want to hold the hot brand on the skin for too long. Ex-boyfriend worried the branded area would get infected, but Papini never really complained about the pain. Okay. Ex-boyfriend believed he purchased some burn cream for Papini to use on her brand and burn wounds. When asked whether she took off the shirt for branding, ex-boyfriend explained she did, but she was generally not walking around naked, although he knew about her breast implants and she was having issues with them. Ex-boyfriend recalled that Papini asked him to put the brand on her within the first week she was with him. Ex-boyfriend had wanted to keep the wood burning tool and thought he might use okay. Ex-boyfriend had wanted to keep the wood burning tool and thought he might use it to work on wood or something, but Papini told him to throw it away, and he did. He wanted to keep the tool for using for wood projects. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Good. That's great. That's fantastic details. That's great. Ex-boyfriend described how Papini got some type of rash at one point on her arms. Ex-boyfriend did not know what to do, so he went to the store and bought all the different kinds of creams for rashes. Papini had given him a list, and he just picked up whatever, and he gathered extra ones. Papini wanted to scrub the stains out of ex-boyfriend's carpet. It's just like, it doesn't flow, okay? It doesn't flow from the rest of the story. What the hell is this sentence just randomly doing here in the middle of this paragraph? How is this related to anything? What the hell is going on right now? What's going on right here? What the hell is happening? Papini wanted to scrub the stains out of ex-boyfriend's carpet. What the hell is this? What the hell is this? This doesn't come from anywhere. This is not the next step in a logical sequence of things. This is what kind of random shit is this just pulled out from nowhere? Oh, now in the middle of this, by the way, I just want to clean some stains out of your carpet. And asked ex-boyfriend to go to Walmart and buy cleaning supplies. Papini had been scrubbing the floor and ended up having hives on her arms. Stephanie, this is great. This is awesome. This is great. And once again, my only sadness is that we don't get the trial. This is just too great. We might have to do a road trip to California, Stephanie. I'm just saying. Ex-boyfriend did not know what caused the rash or what he was allergic to. Ex-boyfriend believed Papini got the rash pretty early on when she was staying with him. Even though ex-boyfriend bought ointment for her to use, Papini continued to have the rash for the rest of the time. To the 500 of you who are currently watching, just a friendly reminder to please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the stream, hit a super chat. This is pretty epic, and I hope you agree. This is wow. This is a story. This is a story of things that happened. Ex-boyfriend explained that he and Papini had been in a previous romantic relationship that ended approximately 2006. Ex-boyfriend said he wasn't sure of Papini's intention during the stay with him, but he believed they might end up in a romantic relationship again. Ex-boyfriend stated that he did not know how long Papini planned to stay away from her family or what the final plan was and whether that included them getting back together. He stated during their prior relationship they were in love at time, but that was young love. Ex-boyfriend stated that he and Papini did not have sex while he stayed with him, and it was not a sexual thing. Well, some DNA got on her underwear somehow, so, okay. Shortly before Thanksgiving 2016, Papini asked ex-boyfriend to take her back to Reading. Papini said she missed her children and wanted to go home. She told ex-boyfriend, "I'm ready to go." Ex-boyfriend asked his friend, person 3, to rent a car for him again, which ex-boyfriend used to drive Papini back home. Ex-boyfriend believed he and Papini left late that evening, the day before Thanksgiving or very early in the morning on Thanksgiving Day, and drove straight through without stopping towards Reading. Papini stayed in the backseat of the rental car for the entire length of the trip, which took 7 hours. Ex-boyfriend said he did not drop off Papini at the side of I-5, but at a road off the freeway. Ex-boyfriend described the road as a country road alongside an orchard. The road... Why is he doing this? Why is he dropping off her in this random place? I mean, because she wants to, but why is he saying yes? Okay. The road was dark with no lights. It was pretty barren in that area. Ex-boyfriend drove back to Orange County and attended Thanksgiving dinner at his aunt's house. That's got to be one interesting Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, for you at least, that's got to be an interesting Thanksgiving dinner. So, what have you been up to lately? Well, let me tell you a story. Hey, what are you thankful for? Well, right now I'm thankful crazy bitch is out of my house. I'm really thankful for that. That's a strong point of thanks in my life. Ex-boyfriend said that Papini had stuff in the bag with her when they drove back to Reading. Papini used those items to bind her own wrists and ankles, including a chain that he likely purchased for her. Additionally, ex-boyfriend stated that Papini brought a prepaid phone with her, which she tossed out of the car as they drove back to Reading. Ex-boyfriend described the phone Papini had brought with her as a black smartphone, such as an Apple iPhone or Samsung. Before Papini left ex-boyfriend's residence, she bagged up anything that could be traced to her and threw the bag of her belongings in the dumpster outside the residence. Ex-boyfriend told investigators that his cousin and the cousin's spouse, person 4, knew Papini was staying with him. Ex-boyfriend told cousin that Papini was going to come stay with him before ex-boyfriend went and picked Papini up. One night when cousin had been drinking, cousin tried to come into ex-boyfriend's house through the back door, and ex-boyfriend had to remind cousin that Papini was there and cousin could not come over. Ex-boyfriend also stated that he told his mother that Papini was staying with him, but she didn't know the details. Ex-boyfriend explained to his mother that his mother became concerned and called ex-boyfriend after she started to see news about Papini's disappearance. Ex-boyfriend described himself as being rattled by his experience with Papini. You don't say. And was concerned about his involvement meant for him. Yeah. I mean, if she pointed the finger at you, you have a bad time, man. But fortunately not. At the time Papini was with him, he believed he was helping a friend. It didn't occur to them that he could get into trouble until he started seeing the news regarding Papini's disappearance and allegations she had been kidnapped. Ex-boyfriend said once it hit you, you see everything on the news. But then when it starts to get bigger, all right, we're dedicating 2020 to Papini's disappearance. Ex-boyfriend was surprised by the news stories and told investigators at one point he thought to himself, I'm not going to make any calls because it's like I turned myself in for nothing. Ex-boyfriend is in a very awkward position. This is for sure. I feel for ex-boyfriend too, man. I mean, I don't know if ex-boyfriend knew about this level of crazy or not, but one would think he had some indications. But he gets a call from his former beau, says, I need a favor. I need to get away. And this is what it's turned into, man. Yeah. Ex-boyfriend said he figured if the truth was discovered about Papini's experience, law enforcement would come to him and he would not fight it. There's a pretty decent chance if that happens, though, they're not coming what we might call calmly. Right? If they think that she's been abducted and they wind up finding that she's over at your house, I wouldn't expect what you might just call a friendly knock at the door. Yeah. Ex-boyfriend did not know there were money rewards for Papini's return until long after Papini left. Investigator asked ex-boyfriend if he'd spoken to Papini since he drove her back to Reading, and ex-boyfriend said, I hadn't talked to her since then. This is a lot. This is a lot, man. Woof. I mean, ex-boyfriend didn't really sign up for all this, man. Lord have mercy. You know, I mean, that's a lot, man. Ugh. All right, so now the now the police have an additional suspect, ex-boyfriend. So let's investigate that a little bit more. Okay. During his interview, ex-boyfriend provided details to investigators about Papini's injuries that were not known to the public, which tend to indicate that he did have first-hand knowledge. Through subsequent investigation, investigators were able to corroborate the account in additional ways. Telephone records show that ex-boyfriend and Papini were in telephone contact using their known phone numbers approximately 29 times through December 2015 through March of 2016 prior to the disappearance. Ex-boyfriend's work schedule show him off work of November 1st and 2nd of 2016, which were not normal days off. This matches dates he drove to Reading to pick up Papini. Rental car receipts show that person 3, as ex-boyfriend described in the interview, rented a silver Dodge Challenger in Costa Mesa on October 31st and was returned on November the 4th. Rental car receipts show that person 3, as ex-boyfriend described in the interview, rented a white Mitsubishi Outlander on November the 23rd and was returned on the 25th after having been driven 927 miles. The table Papini describes as being tied to when she was branded matched appearance to a Facebook post by ex-boyfriend's brother, which was taken at ex-boyfriend's residence. When investigators met with ex-boyfriend in 2020, ex-boyfriend confirmed that he used to own such a coffee table. This is a lot. Ex-boyfriend has dodged all the bullets, man. He has dodged all the bullets, man. He has a blessed life. I continue to feel very, very bad for husband, who seems like a nice guy. In an interview in 2017, Papini described the room where she was held and sketched the closet, which matched in appearance to the bedroom in ex-boyfriend's residence that ex-boyfriend said Papini stayed in while she was with him. The closet in Papini's room at ex-boyfriend residence had a lag bolt through the shelves of the closet, similar to the sketch created by Papini. According to records from Pinterest... Oh my God. Oh my God. Really? Really? Okay. According to records from Pinterest, on or before November 6th of 2016, Papini pinned photographs of wood burning tools to a secret board titled Gift Ideas. Okay. Ex-boyfriend told investigators that Papini told him to purchase prepaid phones so they could communicate with each other using the phones that would not be attributable to them. Ex-boyfriend could not recall the numbers of the phones they used and said Papini threw her phone out of the window as she was being driven back home. The investigator revealed 2 prepaid phones that were in communication with another prior to Papini's disappearance, and both were near the location of Papini's disappearance at approximately the same time. Toll record analysis identified the phone number as 7250, a prepaid phone number, as being the phone number that contacted ex-boyfriend and Papini's known phone numbers prior to the disappearance. AT&T records reveal the phone 1 was purchased by ex-boyfriend in approximately December 2015. It was used almost exclusively to contact another prepaid phone, 6318. They may not remember the numbers, but the FBI does. AT&T records revealed that phone 2 was purchased approximately March 2016, was used almost exclusively to contact phone 1. No name was provided at the time phone 2 was purchased. However, the billing address used at the time of purchase belonged to ex-boyfriend. Trish says we have to get Kurt a wood burning tool. I don't know if that's a good idea. Uh, Historical cellular analysis shows that phone 1 primarily connected to cellular towers near the geographic location of ex-boyfriend's residence and workplace. Historical cell analysis shows phone 2 primarily connected to cell towers near geographic locations of Papini's residence. Historical cell phone analysis shows that on the evening of November 1, phone 1 traveled from Southern California to Redding. Investigators obtained cell phone tower records from November the 2nd, the day of Papini's disappearance, from the cell phone tower that was closest to both Papini's residence and the location of her disappearance. The records revealed that both phone 1 and phone 2 connected to the tower on that date. Additionally, cell phone tower records show that both phone 1 and phone 2 were used and in connection with one another at approximately the same time Papini was believed to have disappeared. Historical cell analysis shows that on November the 2nd, after the text messages, both phone 1 and phone 2 traveled along Interstate 5 from Redding towards Bakersfield. Yeah. This has been truly a great story. This has been a great story. This was a suggestion from Stephanie. And I have to say, this might be one of her better story suggestions because it is just so great. Juicy has nothing on this woman. Juicy isn't even an apprentice. Juicy isn't even an apprentice compared to this woman. Juicy isn't worthy of knowing the existence of this woman, let alone her name. Juicy aspires in one day to maybe somehow begin to close the distance between him and this woman. This woman is a god as to him. This is epic. On September the 18th, a phone number, 6607, a phone number that resolved to a business plan owned by Papini's parents, called ex-boyfriend's known phone number 4 times. The same phone number also called ex-boyfriend's known phone number 2 times. On October the 30th, a phone number 4224, a phone number that AT&T records list to Papini's home address, called ex-boyfriend's known number 4 times. $4.99 from Kathy Long Beach. Hey all, drop a dime. This is worth the trip to a comedy show. I agree with Kathy, man. I think this is well worth your comedy show donations right here, man. This is something, man. On August the 10th of 2020, investigators interviewed person 4, cousin's spouse. Person 4 and cousin lives across the street from ex-boyfriend in 2016, during the time of Papini's alleged abduction. Person 4 admitted to investigators that person 4 knew Papini stayed with ex-boyfriend during the time when she was missing. An ex-boyfriend told person 4 that Papini had bad relationship with her husband and was trying to get away. However, person 4 did not see Papini when she stayed with ex-boyfriend. Person 4 said that ex-boyfriend kept it locked up, and person 4 did not go over to ex-boyfriend's house while Papini was there. Person 4 and cousin hardly saw ex-boyfriend while Papini was staying with him, which was not normal behavior for ex-boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend normally would come over to person 4 and cousin's house to see their kids and play hockey with them. Once Papini left, ex-boyfriend started coming back over to the house. On August, $20 from Stephen C. Thank you. Great content. Glad you chose to be on tonight. Well, thank you very much, Stephen. You are welcome. This is a thing we get to bask in together. On August the 11th of 2020, the sheriff's office detectives telephone interviewed cousin. Cousin told the detectives that approximately a week prior to the disappearance, that Papini was in an abusive relationship and law enforcement was not investigating the allegation abuse incidents. Yeah, because they've never heard of it before. Because it's all fake. Where was I? Okay. Cousin knew Papini from their original relationship with ex-boyfriend years earlier. Cousin told Papini, knew Papini was ex-boyfriend's residence for several weeks during her disappearance. Ex-boyfriend asked cousin in person for her not to come to his residence while Papini was there. Cousin believed ex-boyfriend bought Papini a cell phone. Anytime anyone was near ex-boyfriend's residence, Papini would call ex-boyfriend and ex-boyfriend would call cousin to run off whoever the person was. Cousins ran off several people during this time, including random neighbors, delivery drivers, the landlord, and maintenance workers. Cousin also stated cousin saw Papini on 2 separate occasions. $4.99 from Kindness Cake, thank you very, very much. On the first occasion, cousin was walking down the driveway of cousin's residence and saw Papini standing in the windows of ex-boyfriend's apartment. When Papini saw cousin, she immediately retreated back into the residence. On one second occasion, cousin went to ex-boyfriend's house late at night, which was normal prior to Papini being there. Cousin forgot Papini was at ex-boyfriend's house and entered the back door. When cousin entered the residence, cousin saw Papini in the living room before she ran into the rear bedroom. Cousin also told the sheriff's detectives that ex-boyfriend said that Papini was hurting herself. Ex-boyfriend told cousin that Papini asked the ex-boyfriend to punch her in the face, but ex-boyfriend refused to do so. Ex-boyfriend told cousin that Papini had cut her hair and purposely hit her head on the bathtub and the bathroom floor. $5 from Stephen C. Oh yeah, on your suggestion, I got the Secret Labs Titan Evo 22 series. Awesome purchase. Yeah, that's what I got, and I like it quite a lot too. Yeah, so I got the Secret Labs Titan Evo as well. And I think it's a very nice chair. I think it's a very comfortable chair and beats the crap out of my prior chair. And I'm glad you like yours too. This video, sadly, not sponsored by Secret Labs. Although it should be. All right, pressing on. On August 13th of 2020, Papini's continued lies upon confrontation, which leads to count 1. So she's going to double down, man. Right? The FBI would like to have another word with you about this. And it's going to lead to count 1. On August the 13th of 2020, an FBI agent and the sheriff's office detectives interviewed Papini. Husband sat in on the interview. That had to be entertaining. Husband was in that interview. I mean, that's got to be one hell of an interview to be at, right? Because at this point, husband doesn't know jack shit. He's just there to be supportive of his wife as she's going through these interviews. And now he's there as the FBI is going to confront her. That's got to be one hell of an awkward moment for husband, man. That's rough, man. I mean, there's about going to be a lot of very uncomfortable truths that are about to come out right now. Ugh. All right. Okay. The interview was recorded and transcribed in its entirety. I would kill for a copy of this transcript right now. I would kill for a copy of this transcript. At the beginning of the interview, investigators said, all we want is truthful statements because it's a crime to lie to federal officers. Understood? Papini nodded her head in agreement. Papini nevertheless continued to make false statements regarding her supposed abduction. Investigators asked Papini if she could detail the differences in her 2 abductors, and Papini stated falsely the younger one is the one that let me go and was the nicer of the 2. The older one was really abusive and really mean and is the one that did all the terrible things. Investigators presented Papini with a picture of the coffee table Papini had previously provided as a type of coffee table which she was branded. Asked Papini if she remembers the coffee table. Papini said, yes, I do. I remember that. Investigators showed Papini the picture of a similar coffee table found on ex-boyfriend's Facebook page. It begins. It's not foiable. I wish it was foiable. I really do. It's not foiable, but I wish, man. You know, maybe when the case is over, but not now. It won't be foiable for quite some time. Well, I could try. Maybe they'll give it to me because it's maybe. I guess I could ask. They can always turn me down. So they showed them a picture of the other one. It's been a really long time, so details like that, we did the best we could to take notes on it, and it was really hard. Investigators showed Papini a photographic lineup of Hispanic women, none of whom they recognized as the abductors. Investigators showed Papini a series of photographs from ex-boyfriend's residence, and she falsely denied it was the location in which she had been missing. Investigators showed Papini a picture of the closet in ex-boyfriend's house with a pole through the shelving, and a picture Papini drew of the closet with the pole in the previous interviews. Husband is there during this. I mean, yeah. Papini responded, "It's a little bit different, but it's pretty. Excuse my language. It's pretty fucking similar, but it's different. It didn't look like that. It didn't look like that." Investigators showed Papini a photograph of the window in the room ex-boyfriend described as Papini's room. Papini responded, "I felt like this wood paneling is too thick. I remember it going all the way up the window. It's what I'm having trouble remembering." Investigators showed Papini a photograph of the bathroom at ex-boyfriend's residence, which matched the layout Papini had previously described to law enforcement. Papini responded, "I mean, this doesn't look like the bathroom to me, but the order is yes, this is the type of order, but it's not what it looked like to me. There was tile in the tub. There was a crack." She remembered that detail, you know, good for her. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought I had the document on the screen. That's my bad. I apologize. That's my bad. I'm not sure how much you missed, but I apologize for not having it on screen. Investigators showed Papini a photograph of the tile in ex-boyfriend's room when it was cracked. Oh, so the tile in ex-boyfriend's bathroom is cracked. Oh, so that's why she knew that particular detail, because the tile in the real tile is actually cracked. Oh, okay. All right. So they showed her a picture of the tile in ex-boyfriend's bathroom, which is in fact cracked. Papini said, "I don't know." Investigators asked Papini if she remembered what she previously said about a screw she used to drill through the drywall in the closet while she was abducted. Papini said, "I dug a hole into the wall and poked into the wall." Investigators showed Papini a photograph of a hole in the closet of ex-boyfriend's house. Papini said it was in the drywall, but no. I'm thinking, but yes. Investigators said that they explained they were showing Papini the photographs of the house they discovered she'd been staying at, and they'd spoken to the family who knew she was there. Papini responded, "Oh my God." Investigators asked Papini if she wanted husband to stay in the room. After some thought, Papini asked if she and her husband could talk, so the investigators left the room. Honey, I think we need to have a chat. Honey, I think we need to have a chat. Okay, that's gotta be an awkward conversation. When investigators came back into the room, they asked Papini if they want husband in the room, but she would not answer. So investigators continued with the interview and said, "The only way for us to control things is for us to know." Papini responded, "I know. I don't want you to find her. She's the reason that I get to see my children every day." Who? Investigators responded, we agree, but we're not going to find her. Papini stated, I don't want her to get in trouble. Investigators then told Papini that DNA evidence found on her clothing at the time of her reappearance belonged to ex-boyfriend, husbands in the room. Investigators then told Papini that DNA evidence found on her clothing at the time of her reappearance belonged to ex-boyfriend, and that Papini was not abducted, but asked ex-boyfriend to pick her up. Papini responded, no. When investigators asked if that was not what happened, what did happen, Papini answered, I don't know. There's no way it was ex-boyfriend. There's no way. Investigators asked Papini why she was saying it wasn't ex-boyfriend, and he responded, because he loves me. We're friends. There's no way. When investigators directly asked whether ex-boyfriend came and got you because you asked him, Papini responded falsely, no. When asked when the last time Papini had contact with ex-boyfriend, Papini said falsely it was before her abduction. Papini was asked when she last saw ex-boyfriend and responded, I don't know, forever ago when I lived in Southern California. Investigators asked, so you're saying that since you've been married, you haven't called ex-boyfriend? And Papini responded, no, I've not called ex-boyfriend. Oof. Oof. Investigators explained, and once again, just to remind everyone, husband is in the room as this is happening. His world is crashing down hard. Investigators explained that phone records and DNA evidence showed that Papini had been in contact with ex-boyfriend, and again told Papini, lying to official officers is a crime. Investigators explained that ex-boyfriend provided details no one else would know. While husband was still in the interview room, Papini continued to deny she ran away with ex-boyfriend. Once husband left the room, and that's got to be a rough walk, Papini admitted she and ex-boyfriend did talk a little before, and she said, when I went out of town for work, I talked with other guys. I made a mistake and talked to other men, and I shouldn't have. When investigators asked Papini how she was talking to ex-boyfriend, she responded, my work cell phone. Papini continued to say she made a mistake for talking to other guys and said, I'm horrible. Well, there's that. Ultimately, Papini continued to state it can't be ex-boyfriend and did not provide any further information to investigators about her time with ex-boyfriend in Southern California. Investigators asked, you were pretty clear earlier when I asked, what did the younger one do? You said the younger one pointed the gun at you, and Papini responded, she was there and she let me go. Investigators asked, did a woman point a gun at you and put you in the car? Yes or no? And Papini responded, I don't remember. $20 from character holding, passed a big cert exam following your advice, paying it back, dude, love you. Well, thank you. I'm glad my advice came in useful. Investigators continue to ask Papini what happened with ex-boyfriend. Papini stated, you know who she is. I know you do. I know you know who she is. I'm not saying it. I don't want to get her into trouble. I know you know who she is. Who is she talking about when she says her? Who is she? I'm missing a memo, ma'am. Papini did not at any point through the investigator disavow her repeated responses that a Hispanic woman kidnapped her, nor did she ever admit that ex-boyfriend had picked her up and she had resided at ex-boyfriend's home during the period she was reported missing. The girlfriend, the ex, the younger two. I mean, who is she? Okay, well, my friends, I think we've got some fairly decent evidence that she may have lied to federal officers in violation of 18 USC 1001. Might have told a little lies about things and stuff, and yeah, could be a little bit of lies. Could be some small lies. But wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. Crowdsourced money meant to bring her home used to pay off credit cards. On November the 4th, 2016, a friend of husband's created a GoFundMe campaign called Help Find Sherri Papini with the following stated purpose. Please help us raise money in bringing Sherri home safe. All funds will go directly to the Papini family and will be used for search efforts to find Sherri and bring her home safely. Every dollar counts as time is critical. Thanks. On the same date, in response to donors' questions about how the funds will be used, a campaign update was made to GoFundMe stating, thanks for everyone who's donated so far. The funds will be used in any manner necessary for finding Sherri. On the GoFundMe campaign, under the heading of organizer and beneficiary, husband was listed as organizer and a member of husband's family was listed as beneficiary. On November the 7th, a campaign update was written on GoFundMe's campaign by husband as follows. Thank you all so much for your donations. I'm very happy the Papini family has asked me to help get this GoFundMe established. Your generosity, concern, and prayers are very much appreciated by the Papini family. In total, it raised $49,000. GoFundMe uses a third-party service called WePay that was administered by JP Morgan Chase Bank. In essence, the GoFundMe campaign beneficiary was able to withdraw funds from the GoFundMe campaign through a bank account set up by WePay. Husband was a check signer on the bank account. On December the 6th, after Papini was recovered, husband wrote check number 101 in the amount of $31,000 and change from the GoFundMe account at JP Chase Bank to himself. Husband then signed the check, endorsed the check, and deposited it into his personal account. On December the 6th, husband wrote a check in number 1003 in the amount of $1,100 from the GoFundMe account to Papini. Husband signed the check as signatory. Papini endorsed the check and deposited into her personal bank account. Husband used approximately $8,000 of the funds to make payments towards his personal credit cards. On December 13th, 2016, Papini spent approximately $3,000 to pay off her personal credit cards. The remaining funds husband withdrew from the GoFundMe campaign were transferred into husband and Papini's personal banks and were spent on personal expenses. Well, I mean, there's probably nothing illegal about this, to be quite honest, at least from husband's point of view, right? Because because he doesn't know anything. Right, so he doesn't have any criminal exposure, right? He creates the fund for a fully legitimate purpose and for recovering her. And then once she's recovered, like, the funds are just now personal funds, I guess. I mean, it makes logical sense. So, I mean, there's nothing seemingly wrong with him using the funds for paying off credit cards because, you know, the goal of the GoFundMe has been achieved. And so, you know, I mean, that's probably okay. So that part's probably okay, but here's another part maybe less okay. John Carney says, my girlfriend has been abducted too. She's last seen topless on the back of Sun Stud's motorcycle, holding a margarita, screaming spring break. Please start a fund for GoFundMe. Yeah. So the paying the credit cards thing is probably legal. Here's a part that may be less legal. Papini fraudulently obtained thousands of dollars in victims' assistance. Yeah, this is where things become less legal. On November 28th of 2016, Papini applied to the California Victim Compensation Board for assistance. You see, that would do it. That would do it. You know, the difference between husband and Papini goes a lot to their mental knowledge and mental state, right? When husband created the GoFundMe, he created it with good faith, in belief that it would be used. And then when his wife was returned, joy of joys, right? The money, I guess, just becomes unattached, which seems logical. And so he uses it for personal purposes. You know, the fund achieved its goal. He didn't do anything wrong. When Papini applies for, you know, things, the bots will never learn. Yeah, when she applies for funds from the Victim Compensation Board, it's a much different posture. Yeah. This is a problem. The Compensation Board provides financial assistance to victims of violent crime. In the application, a series of questions were asked to determine the eligibility of the victims. For it, the questions and responses in the application are as follows. Summary of the incident. Sherri was running in her neighborhood when two suspects produced handguns and ordered her into a vehicle. The suspects then held her captive for 22 days before releasing her. Did the victim reasonably try to avoid or stop the events? She attempted to escape several times. Did the victim reasonably cooperate in the investigation and prosecution? She has fully cooperated with the investigation. If there's no arrest or prosecution for purposes determining eligibility, in your professional opinion, is it more likely than not that the crime occurred? We have not located or identified suspects. The application further stated, for the victim of the crime, the following benefits may be available. Please check the crime-related expenses you're requesting. The boxes for medical and or dental expenses, moving or relocation expenses, mental health treatment, and home security improvements were all checked. $5 says, my sources say the song used during the kidnapping was the one that go, un, dos, tres, cuatro, b. It's true. Yeah. Papini signed the application under penalty of perjury. Yeah. Above her signature were statements that include, among other things, as required by California law, I will contract and repay the California Victims Compensation Fund if I or anyone on behalf receives payments for losses suffered as a direct result of the crime that was the basis for the receipt of benefits. Any monies I receive for moving, relocation expenses, improving home security will be used only for those purposes. I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California that all information I provided is true, correct, and complete to the best of my knowledge. I understand I may be found ineligible for benefits, and the action may take to recover if I provide benefits that's false. Yeah, the state of California might have some words with her. The state of California might also have some words with her, for the perjury and the fraud. In addition to signing the application, the Office of the District Attorney required that Papini sign a declaration of understanding of application expenses. Papini initialed after each requirement and signed the declaration on November the 28th. The declaration stated, I've been informed by a Crimes Victims Assistance Center advocate that all decisions pertaining to eligibility and payment expenses are determined by the Claims Department. Once application has been received, it may take 30 to 100 days to determine eligibility. I understand that each bill is sent to the Claims Department. I will be notified in writing if the bill is recommended for approval or denial. Ultimately, you are responsible for all bills that you incur. I understand that by initially next to number 4, I am requesting mileage reimbursement for crime-related medical, dental, or medical health appointments based on current allowable rates. I'm aware the Crime Victim Associates advocates will under no circumstances give advice on what bills will or will not be paid, including relocation determinations. On November 28, 2016, a representative with the County Victims Advocate Program sent the application on behalf of Papini to the program. The application was received. On November the 7th, the board mailed a letter to Papini confirming receipt of the application and enclosing additional information about the program, including the following information. The fund can help victims of crimes that occur in California who are injured or threatened with injury. On December 9th of 2016, the board approved the application. The internal notes recommending approval because law enforcement clarification form completed by Detective K. Walsh from the County Sheriff's Department substantiates the crime occurred. There are no eligibility issues. They limited the number of health sessions that could be reimbursed per application based on filing status. If the claimant reached or was within 8 sessions of mental health limit, they're required to submit an approval for additional sessions. The therapist submitted multiple additional treatment plans via fax. In these plans, Papini therapist diagnosed her with acute post-traumatic stress disorder and stated specifically Papini had been kidnapped at gunpoint, held hostage for 22 days, and physically endured tortured, beaten, burned, branded, and drugged. The additional treatment plan also stated the following and explained why additional treatment was needed. Due to the dramatic nature of the crime, and the fact the client has had multiple interviews with law enforcement agents, the trauma has been reactivated on multiple occasions. and that one of the greatest factors affecting this client's treatment includes the fact her captors have not been located. Well, good news, they've been located. Based on the submission, the board approved additional mental health treatments. Payment requests for financial assistance were made by the claimants and approved by the board. Then checks were issued by the California State Controller's Office and mailed. And that's where, that's where the feds get interested. That's where the feds get interested. And mailed to the designated recipient. They were notified of every reimbursement the board made as part of the fund. The letter stated, "Dear Sherri Papini, we've reviewed the bills or payments requests you've submitted. Some or all of the losses you have received are covered by our programs. The attached payment summary explains what we'll be able to pay at this time. For medical and mental health bills, we pay set rates. When your providers cash checks to them, this means they accept our payment as payments in full." From 2017 to 2021, Papini requested from the Victims Assistance Fund caused approximately 35 payments totaling over $30,000 to be issued by mail, including to her therapist and ambulance provider. Here are the payments. Here are the things she got reimbursement for. For the purchase of blinds, $1,000. Payment to an ambulance provider, $901. Payments to a therapist, $81. Payments to the therapist, $3,000. Payments to the ambulance who transported her, $1,100. Payments to the therapist, $411, $91, $405, $70, $1,215, $486, $81, $2,000, $162, $567, $1,134, $1,640, $627, $243. It continues on. I need a drink. Continuing on with payments made to the therapist, $972, $486, $567, $972, $972, $648, 24 and 30, 240. Let's try that again. 2,430, that's the right number. 1,134, 920, 972, 972, 486, 648, 891, 1,458, 972, totaling $30,694.50 that she defrauded out of the Victims' Compensation Fund. And you'd say, well, at least she's gotten some therapy, but all the therapy was fake. Right? You say she got some therapy, but all the therapy was fake. So she wasn't even getting therapy out of it. I mean, the doctor was trying, but it was all fake. So she didn't really get therapy out of it. I mean, there's nothing good about this, man. There's no good to be had here at all. Okay, so mail fraud, on or about the date listed below, they knowingly caused to be deposited and knowingly caused to be delivered, a thing delivered in mail, namely the $3,000. So that at least that one thing went through the mail. And so we're charging her with that one initial count. Well, that's on the arrest, by the way. All right. So there's probable cause to believe this, signed FBI, and then they were initially sealed, but then of course they were unsealed because that's how we are able to bring them to you. So if you're wondering, because it says at the top of every document, it says at the top of every single page, sealed, right? So obviously it was unsealed. But yeah. So yeah. So there might be more. There might be more in the future. But that's what we have for now. Yeah. Let me see if there's more on Pacer, because they said there was an attachment, and I'd love to see an attachment. I know you two would too. So let's see if Pacer has more exciting information for us today, because I think we'd like more. So let's go over to Pacer and talk amongst yourselves while I search the Pacer and see if there's more exciting information for us to talk about. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's see. Give me the docket report, please. I will run the docket. Thank you. Let's see what we got. Well, the complaint has been unsealed. But nothing else has been unsealed. Yeah, so there might be other attachments. And it looks like there is an attachment. I don't know what this is, but everything else in the so the complaint is sealed, but and it looks like there's an attachment that's sealed, but so that's all we have for now. She was released on bond, which is kind of hilarious, and a protective order was filed. By whom? It doesn't quite say. Let's see if there's special conditions for release. Just kind of standard stuff. You must participate in therapeutic treatment. Good luck. Yeah, so there's nothing else there. All right, so let me respond to things in the comments. So let's see if there were comments made along the way. As I'm sure there were. The bot is not working, sadly. So anyone that tagged me, nothing is working. But let me just read as much as the chat will go back. Is hubris a viable defense? No, not really. Now the husband and ex-boyfriend are probably best friends. I mean, they do share some common experiences, man. Husband needs to get DNA tests of the kids, probably show. Was her husband still in the interview? At least for a lot of it, he was. She is the person in a relationship with the ex because she lets her see her kids. Maybe, but I'm sure that's pursuant to court order or other agreement, so I'm not sure she's in a position to refuse. The bots have been fun, but fortunately I've managed to block the bots because I just go off their names. They keep coming up with new accounts, but they keep reusing the same names, so it makes it easy to just filter them. So fortunately, prevents the bots from spamming everything completely, which is nice. $30K over 4 years. I mean, it's a lot of money. Lying to the feds is like a 10-year. The mail fraud is like 25 years. They want the drawing that they submitted to me. They want the NFT. They want the NFT. Okay. Okay. How long will she get? I don't know. She's facing some time though. She's facing some time. These can carry some serious penalties. So she's facing a couple years in jail. I want to screenshot it. See, that's the problem. I can't let you screenshot it. That's no good. We have to come up with some solutions here to prevent you do something with the all right, I'm gonna need to download this real fast. This is gonna take a second. Hold on. I don't know why I'm doing any of this. Why am I doing this? All right. I'm just adding some quick watermarks here so that, whichever one of you buys the official NFT will have something of value. As I very hastily try to do some sort of watermarking. All right. All right, you guys want to see you guys want to see our first exclusive merch, the first picture drawn by our fans. Stephanie wants to see this, right? Stephanie thinks this is a great idea for some reason. Stephanie's all about this for some reason. Stephanie. All right, guys. This is your official warning for those of you who don't want to see all this. But so we did the Peppy the Frog ass. You guys remember Peppy the Frog ass? That we did, where someone paid $500,000. They paid $500,000 for Peppy the Frog's ass NST. You guys remember that? Okay, so one of our members has used that as inspiration and painted me in a similar picture, in a similar pose. So the picture is of me in a lake at a waterfall, showing off my ass. Okay, and that's a thing. So here we go. Here we go. Yes. So as you can see, the Uncivil Law logo appears directly on my cheeks, and I'm listening on the headphones at the Waterland, and Stephanie is there admiring me from behind a rock, as the frog also looks at my copious ass. So this image can be yours. This image can be yours for some images. You know, no, not Law Nerd Clips, not on this one, no, Law Nerd Clips doesn't have my permission for this one, not this one. And this one is just for me. Yeah. So if you'd like to buy that original NFT, let me know. You can't download it because the original, right? The NFT is the original. It would be different. All right, so Stephanie, were there any particularly notable quotes from the chat that you captured along the way that you wouldn't bring to my attention from the discussions? Otherwise, I will. Otherwise, I'll wrap it up. We can set a reasonable picture. How much should we sell the original for? We sell for an original amount. I don't know. Do unbreaded? I don't know. Can more than one person own the NFT? I think the idea is no. So it'll be like one original for sale. So yeah, this has been a fun stream though. Oh yeah, no, there's no transcript available, unfortunately, right now. No, there's not. At least on the docket. No, there is a sealed thing. Yeah, there's a sealed document, which looks like it might be the attachment. The complaint is available, but the attachment is sealed, and there's no transcript right now. She was released on a bond of $120,000. Surety bond of $70,000. So, I mean, you know. We will follow it as it progresses, but, you know, yeah. You can't find them. We'll have to put them together in a short. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't have a transcript or anything, so I don't have anything to work from. But and I can't get it right now because it's part of an ongoing case. So I would imagine the FBI would turn me down for a FOIA because it's part of an ongoing case. So if it's not until it's presented to the jury or otherwise on the docket, I'm not going to be able to get it in FOIA. So yeah, but we'll see. Anything else before I sign off for the night? I guess not. And I'm Brennan. Yeah. The Chanslaws were filing. What is a Chanslaw? What is a Chanslaw? What is that? Yeah, I don't think I'll do an unbreaded. That's really kind of Nick's thing. I was kind of doing it as a one-time thing. And I don't... Flip-flops? Yeah. Flip-flops? Flip-flops are flying? Yeah. So, yeah. I don't think I will do an unbreaded. I kind of did it as a one-off. I'm not sure I'll do it again. Read some Kanye tweets. There's a lot of court documents on Scribd. Sherri Papini. It might be related to other things. There might be... Yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything on... I mean... I can take a quick look on Scribd and see if there's anything there that we don't have, but I doubt it. But let's take a look. Let's see. The complaint and affidavit. We read that. And complaint and affidavit, we read that. There's not going to be anything on Scribd that we don't already have. Thank you for all you do. You're welcome. All right, I'm going to search her name and switch from everything to documents. Okay, I mean... Contact and lead emails. I don't know if this is... This is just a bunch of email addresses. Something from International Practice Guide. Compiled info. Yeah, there's nothing. There's just the complaint. All right, I'm going to sign off for now. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to give it a like, comment, subscribe. Remember to everyone say thank you to Stephanie, because this was Stephanie's suggestion. She is wonderful and great and provides the impetus for this and enjoys when I go crazy. And I enjoy it too. And so it's a lot of fun. Thanks, Stephanie, as always, for the suggestions. Keep them coming. Remember to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If it's red, you need to hit it, so it'll stop being red. I've been Uncivil Law. Till later, my friends. I hope all is well. Cheers and good night.